Worm is a web serial by J.C. McCrae, also known as Wildbow. You can read Worm in its original format by visiting parahumans.wordpress.com or donate to Wildbow's Patreon at patreon.com/wildbow. This story isn't intended for young or sensitive readers. Readers who are on the lookout for trigger warnings are advised to give Worm a pass. For a complete list, check the description for all of Worm's trigger warnings.
Good morning, Brockton Bay. There's a blackout rolling through, and you are not in the know.
Welcome, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you, Alan.
Hello.
For getting us going.
Yeah, we're going.
We are here in Arc 19.
Ooh,
Trigger warning.
crazy.
I'm going to say the word flesh probably a lot.
I'm going to say flaps a lot.
I'm gonna cringe a lot, probably.
Is that your word of choice?
Your holdy
No,
tolds.
I'm gonna cringe at you saying flaps and flesh and
What about
all
Terry
kinds
folds?
of other things. Well, Terry folds are part of human
Foldy
nature,
fold.
okay?
Yeah.
Which arc are we doing,
Was-
Jacob?
We're doing Arc 19, which
Scourge.
I don't know about you guys. I flew through.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I casually listen to these, like I'll listen to the audiobook, the fan audiobooks, kind of just in the morning when I'm getting ready for work and going to work and stuff on my commute. And I'll do like a chapter a day pretty much and just kind of pace it. And I was done with this one way early, like several days early, just because I was listening to it continuously.
Nice.
It did feel a little shorter.
moves.
It moves really fast, and it felt a little bit shorter too. I don't know if it really was, but
It
it
felt
definitely
like it.
felt like
It
was
It's
was
a
Yeah.
little bit
than
shorter
18.
than the last one. I believe it sits at about just shy of 70,000 words.
Do you keep the word count like next to you,
No,
Alan?
there's a
You whip
beautiful
this out every
bastard.
time.
There's a beautiful bastard. I could not tell you who made this. I'll have to go back and look on Reddit, but they posted on Imgur a lovely set of Wildbow stats. One chapter, how many chapters are in each one, how many word count for each one, the amount of comments for each one.
Wow.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, can you pronounce the name of that image hosting
yeah.
website?
Yeah.
Thank you, Nick.
Yeah,
Thank
say
you,
it one more
Nick.
time, Alan. Imgur is how
Imgur?
you think it's
Is it-
pronounced?
Is it
You know what? Let's let
Imgur?
our listeners decide. You tell us how Alan should
you know
be
what?
pronouncing it.
In fairness, hear me out. I have never said that word out loud.
That's fair. That's fair. I'll give you
That is
that.
fair.
This
I
is
think
this is
we've
one
all
of
been
those
there before.
words for me.
I think we
Yeah,
all
You mean
say it wrong.
like genre?
Yeah, genre. Yeah. What genre
Okay.
of music do you listen to?
Yeah.
Oh, no.
Wait.
Oh.
Go back to that word. How do you guys say it?
Imgur?
Because yeah, see,
Yeah,
I
I
I think
always
it's
say,
supposed to be
Im-
pronounced
Imgur.
imager.
Yeah,
it is,
Imager.
It is.
Imager.
It is.
Imager. Yeah.
Except there's no like spacing or anything between the M and the G, which is always what threw me off. Because I always thought it would be imager, but the more I looked at it, throughout my experience on the internet, it looks like Imgur.
That's how I always pronounced it, but it's supposed to be imager.
You know what?
I follow a creator who intentionally mispronounces words in his videos just to increase
Make
engagement.
people mad.
Yeah, so everyone comments and it boosts his engagement.
I hate
And,
when people do that. Like I get why people do
Yeah.
it. I hate it
I
so much.
hate that it works. Not that they do it.
Yes.
I just hate that
Same.
it works. I hate that
Yeah.
it works. Like,
Here's-
we're so predictable.
Everybody always wants to be right, which
Mhm.
this is kind of jumping to the end just really quickly, but as a funny moment with the last interlude, and we'll get there eventually, but just that whole how realistic that is, where somebody's like, two things. Number one, I'm going to correct something wrong that you said.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's human nature.
Objection,
to
hearsay.
Yeah, objection. You're a dummy, a real dum
A
dum.
dumb bologna sandwich.
Yeah. The consensus I'm gathering from the internet as I'm doing a little research is that the company pronounces it Imager.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So shall
But
it
say-
you know,
Say the name, Nick.
Imgur.
Okay, nice.
I mean, yeah. Alan is right. There's
Photosite
no
go
space there.
Imgur.
Well, hey, speaking
I'm
of
Gur.
mispronunciations,
I'm Gur.
No.
It's my you.
we have a
Smy Yug.
Yeah. No.
Smy Yugi boy.
It's begun.
I'm on some podcast juice tonight. Nothing
I
but
like that.
H2O and go.
I was gonna say, do you not have your chai tonight?
I do not. I am running on vibes and water.
Wow. I'm drinking so much
Impressive.
vodka.
I'll tell you right now, I have never been drunk for any of these podcasts, despite popular opinion. And I don't need to.
Let's go. I mean, yeah.
well, speaking of words to
Could I be
mispronounce, we've
drinking?
got a lot of names
Maybe.
to get through in these
Oh
arcs.
no, it's names night.
Well,
No.
there's a few. There's a few in here. I think we've said most of these before, but there's a few that popped up quite a bit.
That's all right. That's
Mhm.
all right. We'll get through
Jacob's
it.
favorite, Chevalier.
Oh yes, can't wait.
No.
Oh, we get a great
Oh.
scene. It's beautiful.
Lear.
Nah, I'll take that to my grave. Let's dive in. What are we already 6 minutes into this?
Yeah.
Just the warm up period.
Yeah,
Yeah,
of
you know.
course.
We gotta loosen
Now their
up.
muscles are
Little
loosey
loosey
goosey.
goosey. Oh, hey, look
Yeah.
who's married.
Word of the week has been loosey goosey.
Those are two words, but that's fine.
Well, I do think
Oh, so much vodka.
much of this arc blends together. Pretty much the whole thing.
Yeah, it really does.
So maybe just like chapter at a time might be best.
Yeah,
Gotta go
that's what
through it.
I was thinking.
Yeah.
I'm for sure and for certain we're gonna get like get ahead of ourselves a little bit. And the chapters do tend to kind of melt into each other a little bit, but we're just
I'm gonna
gonna
stop
do our
you right
best.
there. I don't think they
Goddamn.
do it all. There's only 2 chapters that I think melt to each other, and that's fighting Noelle at the end. The rest of them are very distinct and have very good cutoff points for what they're about to do.
Oh, meaning, but like we go chapter at a time.
Yes, we're gonna go
Yes.
chapter at a time.
Like
Yes.
that's what I was like. It wouldn't really group.
We were just talking about how they blended together. I'm like, I don't know about how they blended. They did not blend together. They were very
Personally,
distinct.
they blended together for me quite
Like
did
arc
quite good.
18 as a whole, if I remember, is a blend together.
Well, I mean, the whole arc is the Echidna fight.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, that's 18 blends together as a whole. 19 has a bunch of very distinct moments.
Yeah, in the
We'll
same
explore
Uh,
right now.
Oh my
Yeah.
gosh.
Okay, so we'll just jump right on in.
Let's go.
Chapter 1. Taylor is stuck in Echidna, where we left off with Arc 18, and is dreaming of battles and memories, and it's not a fun time. And is also seeing through the eyes of her bugs. We kind of have this little like jump back and forth. We have some heroes show up to help, and Tattletale drops the building on Noelle.
I love Tattletale.
I mean, as if being absorbed by a giant goo monster wasn't bad enough.
Right.
You got to add in the psychological warfare,
Of
right? Of being
course.
stuck inside Echidna.
Yeah.
And
The absolute reliving of trauma.
yeah, the reliving of trigger events, but now they're warping with like worst fears. Taylor's whole, I really liked this chapter, and I think really this is one of the most memorable chapters because it does stand out for me, at least from the rest, both because of the back and forth between Taylor's visions and the reality.
Mhm.
And on top of that, just how Taylor's worst fears are being personified, right? And it's interesting to me that a lot of it goes back to Mannequin.
Mhm.
That
Yeah.
was kind of the character who a lot of her worst fears got pinned on. And it makes you think, like, in the moment, we don't really think about it, but you kind of realize, oh, that whole fight with Mannequin must have been deeply traumatizing for her. And even
Yeah.
maybe she hasn't processed how deeply traumatizing the Mannequin experience was for her.
Yeah. You see it a lot in like television, the back and forth while somebody's stuck in something and they're like, snap out of it. I know you're in there. And, it's contrasted with, them doing something,
Yeah.
whether they've gone berserk or something in real life and fighting it on the inside. And I can't say that I've really ever seen it done in writing. And like one or two times I have, it's been very brief and very poorly done. So like I didn't like reading it just because I don't like that trope, but for that trope to be done, this is the best I've seen it written. Easy.
I'm trying to remember what else she sees. I know the big one. The big one that I remember is Mannequin killing her
Yeah.
dad or cornering her dad.
She relives
Her-
the her in the hallway getting
Yep.
bullied,
Relives
getting
her in
knocked
the hallway,
around.
getting knocked around. She relives being stuck in the locker.
Yeah.
I remember that. And yeah, otherwise though, we just see again, Tattletale's great power is her ability to understand things, manipulate things. Blowing up Coil's base, doing all those moves. It was a big move, but it worked. And buries her. The interesting thing though to me is that and there was this very good. I think it was very well done. But Shatterbird is out now, right?
Yes.
Mhm.
Did we?
Oh.
Did it? Am I the only one that forgot about?
I completely forgot
Shatterbird?
about Shatterbird.
100%. Completely forgot.
Did not remember.
Yeah,
I
Like
think
as soon as it
'cause-
was like, oh, that's right, she is here. But
yeah. No, I definitely forgot. I mean, I didn't forget about her, but it's that she's here where
Yeah.
Echidna is now.
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh, and of course, Regent got knocked out or wasn't around, one of the two, to exert control. So, no, he was inside of Echidna at that
yeah,
point. right?
he got
he was
yeah,
inside
yeah.
of Echidna. Yeah.
You
Yep,
got
yep.
got.
Which I mean, that's something else we can talk about too. Is them battling these dark clones of themselves.
Mm-hmm.
In the way that Echidna's power works on other people's powers. This gets developed more throughout the chapter too, but I was really interested in that and how she's almost like cycling through different versions of powers to figure out
Mhm.
which one would serve her needs best. And obviously Gru's teleportation darkness, very effective in
Ugh.
this scenario.
Gosh.
Mhm.
Unfortunate.
Yeah.
Yeah. We see I don't feel like we see many, if any, Regent clones pop out. I feel like we see a lot of Gru clones have to deal with Gru clones, but we don't really have to deal with Regent clones. Am I remembering that correctly?
I think they killed them pretty quickly.
Yeah.
And that's why like even there's only one Gru clone that makes it. Like they do a pretty good job of laying waste to all of them. I mean,
Yeah.
if we're going to talk about anybody, Miss Militia
Oh,
was ideally suited for murdering these clones.
yeah, for sure.
Like
Yeah,
they get
true.
spit out, and like we've said, most of these heroes and villains couldn't take a 9mm to the head, and she upped that a little and just pulls out two M16s and starts just
Bam.
pop. You know,
Yeah. I mean,
That
and
was very
even Taylor
satisfying.
mentions how effective she is because the clone's skin is really weak. And
Yeah.
you might even say their flesh is weak.
Go on.
But even she's able to be effective against them because they really aren't. Yeah, they aren't durable.
They
the
haven't
word,
had
I think.
time to ruminate.
Yeah, they haven't festered
cook.
long enough.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ew.
Yeah.
And in an
Miss
alternate
Militia.
reality,
Yeah. What were you gonna say?
Echidna versus Nilbog would be an interesting showdown.
Oof.
Give
Woof.
Echidna a city and enough time.
All I can think of is I think the tagline from Alien versus Predator, which is just whoever wins, we lose.
Yes.
No, I
And
think
that's what that fight would be.
Yeah.
if we're
That's
gonna
good.
say that fight, it's Echidna by a mile.
Yeah, I think so.
Every
Against
time they go
Nilbog?
to
Oh, yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
because
Oh, yeah.
he just
Oh, for
eats
shizzle.
every single thing that he throws at her
Yeah.
until she makes it to him.
Yeah. No, I don't think that would actually be too fair a fight
Mm-mm.
because Nilbog just creates his own clones,
Yeah.
but can't. Yeah, he doesn't absorb anything. Yeah. No. Yeah, Echidna wins that one. Echidna.
Well,
Yeah.
I would say that we don't know, at least at this point in the story, and I don't remember if Nilbog has more to it than just
Yeah,
he
we
makes
don't know that
clones.
much yet.
True.
So I'll we'll put an asterisk, put a pin in that one. Once we find out more, if we find out more about Nilbog, we'll come back to that question because I think that is an interesting one. Because Nilbog is classified as a Class S threat, which eventually
Yeah.
Echidna
True.
was classified as.
True.
So I don't want to say that Echidna has it hands down, even though it seems like she would from what we know. But again, I don't
Yeah.
remember enough.
Mhm.
Yeah,
to
I mean,
judge
yeah,
that.
there's enough. Yeah, you're right. I don't remember anything about Nilbog, to be honest, aside from what we've read in the interlude. There's definitely enough there because S-Class is like, hey, big heroes don't engage. And it sounds like some of the big heroes should be able to kill Nilbog, so there might be more going on that we're not aware of yet. Anyway,
Yeah. All I know
rants,
is
side rants.
Nilbog's going to be played by Danny DeVito. That's literally all I know.
Oh, of course.
I thought Siberian was being played by Danny DeVito.
Danny DeVito
I
is
thought
Manson
Coil was
and
being played by
Siberian.
Danny DeVito.
Look, Danny DeVito can play everybody.
Wasn't Danny getting played by Danny DeVito?
Oh, right.
Oh,
Taylor, you get back in this house right now.
He's just wearing different wigs.
Yeah. Yeah. And for Siberian, he's just got the stripes. Absolutely.
No, not even. They're just like painted on him too,
That's what
right?
I mean,
Like sports
yeah.
paint.
Yeah.
It would
Oh,
cut
yeah,
to
for
his
sure.
when he was
For
naked
sure.
and always sunny, and they just got it smeared all over him, but he's sweating it off.
No.
Yeah.
Oh man.
You love it.
Yeah, no, Weld comes to the rescue, and I love that we have some capes that can get in, dig through Noelle's goop.
flesh.
Flesh.
Her
God damn it.
flaps.
Her fleshy flaps, and pull out Taylor. That's fun. I like, because I don't know, it can get so overwhelming. You're like, how are we ever gonna deal with this? And then you have Weld. It's like, oh, everyone's favorite boy Weld is here to save the day. Like, no worries, he'll pull everybody out. Like, it's all good. Weld's here.
I just have Weld, you beautiful bastard.
I love him so much.
It's such
Such a
he's
peach.
got such a fun power. It's so simple, but the fact that his power also makes him semi-immune to a lot of other powers
Mhm.
is a really neat addition to what's pretty much a curse in every other respect.
Yeah.
He gets like, well, at least he has that. Got to give him something. But no, yeah, great moment for our Weld fans, which is all of us.
All of us.
Should
We're
be.
all Weld
Should be.
fans.
Yeah.
Weld is a delight in every way.
Mhm.
I think like, the phrase like pure cinnamon bun type of character, it doesn't
Oh.
apply to many people in the Worm universe, but I feel like Weld is about as close as it gets.
Yeah. He's a
Mhm.
cinnamon roll.
Mm-hmm.
All right, moving on to
yeah.
what's the end of that chapter?
Yeah, the end of that is they realize that people have seen the evil clones and they're fucked. Your face is out.
Yeah, that's right. Little
That's true,
Wait.
yeah, because the clones come out
What?
unmasked.
Yeah.
right, they come out unmasked. So
Usually.
Little,
Sometimes they have like costumes,
giving up the
I
secret identity.
biological costumes.
yeah. Birthday suits, if you will.
Not even that. I mean, like, oh, that's like she says at one point, like, oh, that's Gru's helmet, but made out of flesh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna lie. I didn't remember that. I remember it later, like when certain someone steps out, and everyone's like, "Oh shit!" But I didn't realize that was happening here.
Yeah, I think it was more with Vista, and just some of the clones for some reason did come out with costumes on. Not like completed costumes, but it was I remember it being mentioned with Vista in particular in 18, I think. Right? It wasn't just a bunch of naked people running around. I'm pretty sure.
No, you're right. But yeah, no, they did mention that like as some of the clones are coming out unmasked, we're starting to give away identities, things like that, which is kind of scary in a universe where your identity is super protected.
Yeah, and that'll become a problem, a bigger problem, even later on.
Yeah, we'll see here shortly.
Yep. Chapter 2?
Chapter 2.
So we're out of the building. All is sort of okay for now. Taylor lays her cards on the table about Thomas Calvert with Weld and Miss Militia so that they don't come to any, wrong conclusions. But basically, like, tells them without telling them that she maybe was the one who did it, who put a bullet in his head. Gets healed up, sort of, by Scapegoat, which is very interesting. I really enjoyed that. Sends Gru home with Imp because he's just not doing well. And Tattletale makes some enemies because she likes to go waggling her tongue and talking about things, seeing who's going to twitch, checking out everybody's poker face, and basically says something about Cauldron and sees who flinches.
Yeah, all these chapters are really good. I loved this arc.
This one, ooh.
Yeah, this is a great chapter.
First,
the non-admission of guilt. Like, listen.
Yeah.
I do not recall.
There was a bullet in his head, and my gun was one bullet lighter. I admit.
Yes, I was holding a gun. It was.
It's I can neither confirm nor deny that I had any involvement in Coyle's death. However, if I had, it was necessary.
The OJ method.
I was going to say Taylor comes out with a book next year.
Yeah, if I had
murdered the director. Yeah.
If I had killed Coyle.
But no, I do. So that's the other thing we didn't talk about with the clones is that they come out with knowledge of what the person has been and done. So it's not just secret identities, right? Skitter's clone, the reason why she has to talk to Weld and Miss Militia about it is because a Skitter clone is like, are you sure you want to save her, Weld? She killed your boss, right?
Yeah.
And he's
Yep.
Wait, what the fuck? Kind of that pause.
The fuck?
Yeah. And that was something that is just another added layer of fighting Echidna that is so interesting, right? Not only are your powers getting stolen, you're going through psychological torment, but on top of that, your identity and all of your secrets might be revealed to your best friends.
Pretty much.
Yep.
Pretty much.
I just imagine a side story where it's like two male heroes, one of them gets sucked in and the other one comes out. And it just gets real awkward later because the clone just says something really off the wall like, he's really into inflation porn, right?
Oh my God.
It's just a side story that we can imagine in a fan fiction another time.
Which hero do you think would say that? Guesses right now.
No.
Regent.
Which twisted version? Who?
Regent.
Was that?
Oh no.
Yeah, good. Moving on.
Okay, great. Yeah.
Just wanted to drop that on you guys.
Yeah. My top note, my very first note in this, which is related to later, is she's still blind, right?
Yeah.
Which is, of course, answered later with the line that I have been waiting for like 2 arcs.
Absolutely.
Because I know that it was coming. I just didn't know when. And finally we get she's blind?
It was so good. It was so good. Alan and I were both reading in the same room when it happened, and he was like waiting for me to get to that part.
That's amazing.
It's one of those moments that has stuck with me for so long in Worm that I like. It's we've talked about it's Bonesaw, just with the meat locker. It's Mannequin creeping through the vents. It's Satyr going, she's blind. Those are the things that stick with you.
Scapegoat.
Scapegoat. My
Yeah.
bad. Scapegoat.
I mean, you're close.
Yeah.
Same group of animals. No, I love Scapegoat's great. It's just like your dollar store panacea, just like, Mom, can we have some healing? We have healing at home. Healing at home.
That I write that down. That's going to be a meme.
Yeah.
I need you to write that down.
I'll
write this down. I need to remember this.
Yeah. But he has the advantage. Well, I guess Panacea is still stronger in this way too. He has the slight advantage-ish that he can then basically curse people with whatever injuries he's sustained. So that's kind of cool.
Yeah. Does have a little
useful, but kind of cool.
Offensive power. But okay, so am I, because this is now the second time reading about Scapegoat's power, just to confirm, he is essentially trading the injuries for non-injuries with other versions of the person in other worlds. So like a random Taylor in some alternate universe is just going to be blind now.
Yes.
Am I understanding? Okay, that's what I thought. Wow. That's
what Tattletale implies, at least, is that that's how his power works.
Man, so the question is now, if you had a serious injury and were presented with the same option, would you agree to it?
Oof.
If it was another version of me, maybe not.
Yeah.
I think it's tough because at least in their world, other worlds or it's a kind of a multiverse. That is a known fact that it's a multiverse, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
In our world, if that was just offered out of the blue, I'm like, and somebody's like, hey, you broke your leg, you could have it happen to your alternate you in another universe. And be like, probably. I mean,
right.
I'd feel bad, but that's such a foreign and unrealistic concept to me that I'm like,
yeah, it's hard to.
Yeah, I'd rather just not have the broken leg or whatever horrible injury it is.
Yeah.
And so but for them, they have contact with other worlds. And so it's a bit different because it's like, what if one day I meet that Taylor and she finds out somehow that this is why she's blind?
Yeah, you're right. I always I saw it was the classic, somebody had asked, would you press a button for $1 million if somebody random in the world would die, classic thing. And the top comment was, yes, people press that every day for 2-day shipping. Like, we're pressing that button all the time. Every
Rooster
day.
Teeth, rest in peace, has a bit about that where the guy's like mid-explaining it to Jeff, and Jeff slaps the button. Yeah. And he goes, if I do it again, do I get more money? He's like, yeah, but in that one, it's somebody dies, and he just keeps slapping the button. The guy's like, stop, this is supposed to be a dilemma. He's like, why are you keeping the button from me? Come on.
Yeah. I think I'd probably also take the Scapegoat deal, and I wouldn't feel good about it until I forgot about it. Then I'd be fine.
Right.
Man, sucks to be him.
Yeah. What an interesting workaround for a healer power. Like, we're trying to come up, because up until now, the only person that I feel we've seen heal other people, Panacea being the literally just my ability is to heal. Eidolon has the ability to develop powers, so he makes a healing power.
I was going to say, I think they.
Othala, that's right. Othala has a regeneration ability
that
she can pass on to other people. That's true.
I think they've implied that Eidolon has done that in the past, because they mentioned that he tried to heal Hero after Siberian.
But he was too far gone.
Yeah.
So he can summon but his ability is to literally just make up powers.
Yeah.
So Scapegoat is the first time I feel like we've seen another genuine, like, my job is the healer.
Right.
And what an interesting way around it too, because obviously you can't do the
Yeah.
same thing as Panacea. You can't just have somebody that goes, "Oh, you're better now because I've fixed you." Like, you've got to come up with some interesting way to do it, because that's how powers work here. And man, what an interesting method.
So
Mhm.
cool. Also, what a great arc to like have the whole conversation in regards to like different realities and pulling and swapping things out, and like I mean, like it's a good arc for it if we're gonna, you know.
Yeah, yeah,
Well, I mean, I
definitely.
even love how Tattletale kind of gets in later in the arc, kind of gets into trying to use Scapegoat with her plan at the end, and being like, he's not really going to work for what I want. Like he's just so wrapped up in the fabric of this universe.
Yeah.
A lot of
I
powers
love
that
how
work
she
that way.
leans over and she's like, "Oh, I could have sworn I mentioned that. Also, I'm paying you pretty well, aren't I?"
Yeah.
It's like, of course, the goat character is corrupt. Like,
I just like the idea that everyone is in Tattletale's pocket.
Yeah. She's got all of Coil's money,
She has
and
so much money.
we know Coil was rolling deep in it.
mhm.
So I think it's implied that she might be the wealthiest person in the world.
Well, I
Especially
mean,
with how-
they even talk about at one point that she's lost some money, but then we'll talk about that she's about to gain a lot of
Yeah.
money.
Yeah, girl
Like,
has
she's
made
been on
good
a-
investments.
Yeah, she's been on a spending spree, expecting a very large return.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think at one point, I'm trying to remember where it is, but they even said like, after buying, after all this spending, post Coil, like, and leading up to Coil, like, I did drain the reserves a bit.
Yeah. Well, because she buys Fault Line's crew for, I forget what it was.
Like a
Several-
million.
It
Several
was-
million,
it was
maybe?
It's
several
like, yeah, million, and then she doubles it.
Yeah. Something like that. Just buys it, easily. So she's spending. How about
yeah.
that conversation with Tattletale
Oh.
and
Mm-hmm.
is it Miss
Oh.
Militia, right?
Oh, Tattletale and Miss Alicia? I was going to start with Skitter and Weld.
Oh, Skitter.
we never
well,
really
I
covered
guess,
Skitter
that too
walks
much.
Yeah.
over and gives a genuine, heartfelt thank you.
Yeah.
Like, hey, Weld, that was pretty heroic. I
It's-
really
it's a good
appreciate
move.
it. What you're supposed, like, just a good on you.
Mm-hmm.
And then right away, another thing. Hey, guys, I got to clear this up because I don't want this to get misunderstood. So let's clear this out right away. And then immediately quotes basically what I believe about, like, I enjoy rom-coms, but the idiot plot thing, where like, oh my gosh, this is a simple misunderstanding. Wildbow, you just get me. Not only that, but she explains the whole issue in 4 words. Thomas Calvert was Coil. That so
Right.
simple. This is not
Yeah.
there's no time to explain. I'll explain it to you later. She explained it in 4 words, and we
Yeah.
can
Yeah.
elaborate from there, but that's all you really need to do.
Yeah.
She explained it in less time than it takes to say there's no time to explain. Like,
Yeah.
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 Yeah, and I do appreciate that too, that she recognizes that hiding this isn't going to make it better. And I think it's really interesting and really telling that it's Weld and Miss Militia, because Weld, at least, we know, is one of the Case 53s, right? He's semi-inhuman now.
Right.
And Miss Militia did have a trigger event. She was not a Cauldron hero. So having the two of them, which we'll get more into that later, of course, but having the two of them already listening to her is really interesting. Although I do love that they kind of call her out on her BS. Miss Militia says something like, "You do this a lot, Skitter. You make really big claims that you know that we can't check up on until later."
Yeah.
No, I will push back on this. Again, when has Skitter ever lied to the PRT about anything? When?
She hasn't. I'm not saying that she has. I'm just saying, I think it's really funny that is what she does, right? And every time she's right, but it is like, if you're on the other side, you're like, who is this
They
girl
don't know
who
she's
just
not
comes
lying.
in? and
Exactly. Like, you're
says
not going to just
stuff?
blindly
Who is
trust
this
the
girl
villain.
that constantly bats 1,000?
Yeah.
Wow, that's wild. Like, you'd think after a while you're like, yeah, she's a villain, but like, she does bad things, but she's never lied to us. Like, she always comes in and is like, hey, this is what's going on. We need help. I need help. You need help. Like, you'd think after a while that you would be like, yeah, look, Skitter, we're going to get her. But if she calls us up and says there's a big threat, better check into it. And I just don't understand how we haven't gotten this through our skulls that Skitter is not like
She's not the bad
evil
guy.
Yeah, she's not the manipulative, like, I'm going to two-time you and I'm a spiteful. Like, there's none of that. She's never done that.
I think the issue though is that she does vacillate back and forth between like, hey, I'm
Yeah.
going to help you with this bad guy. I'm also going to attack the PRT base directly and kidnap Pickett.
And kidnap
I'm-
Pickett. I'm going to attack the mayor.
I'm
his
going to
home.
warn you about these big things, but then I'm also going to blow up half of Dragon's robots. It is like,
But she's not a liar. Look, I can pass up a few robots
Look
being
past
blown
her,
up.
Here's
her
the thing, though,
robot
Alan.
Some
murder.
people getting kidnapped and others getting murdered. But telling a lie?
the problem is that except for case 53s, every cape is familiar with deception because they all do it every day.
Deception.
So I think there's just a general sense of mistrust in the cape community in general.
I mean, and it's not about to get better after this arc. Let me tell you.
I mean, I think that's one of that's one of just the whole themes of the story is that like the Protectorate is really just another gang,
Yeah.
essentially. They're just a bit
sanctioned
more
gang.
Yeah, and a bit more morally uptight. But like
they don't murder and pillage quite as much.
I mean, openly.
Not in
They,
this.
they seem
not
to be
on this
murdering
Earth.
and pillaging from other dimensions
I
quite
was gonna
easily,
say,
though.
Not their Earth.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's all about perspective.
Yeah. A whole lot of distrust.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do appreciate that they did not completely blow off Skitter for once. That they were like, hey, like they listened to her, they talked with her. I would say even the Clockblocker conversation, which is about as close as we got to a decent like back and forth. Clockblocker kind of was on a war path to just like, I need to one up you. That's the goal of this conversation. I need to feel like this is the right thing. Yeah.
Well, Miss Militia was also there for that conversation. So she heard, she's telling him, like, reminding him, like, hey, you're going to get written up if you keep pushing this. And he's like, I don't care. I'm going to push it anyways. Write me up. But she's listening. She was listening to Taylor and Clockblocker talk and interjecting every once in a while. And so now that we have her, she's again interacting with Taylor in a scenario where Taylor is being honest and is being truthful and isn't holding stuff back. I mean, other than admitting that she was the one who shot Coyle, but like, I feel like allegedly, of course, I feel like bridges are kind of like maybe not being repaired, but like there's some bridging happening between the gap of like Miss Militia and Taylor. And I like that. And I like this conversation with her and Weld and her interaction with Clockblocker before and again in this arc. Like I'm liking that these relationships are growing more than just, oh, well, you're a villain and we're gonna, take you in.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, very much so.
Oh, also, we have the moment where Taylor starts walking and back to back, Lisa starts walking slowly behind her. And she's like,
yes.
What is up with that? Are you trying to push me as the face? And then Imp even later says, hey, you're the leader. And I was like, is that the first time we've had the official, like,
I mean,
Taylor,
publicly.
you're in charge?
I mean, because Taylor's kind of taken charge quite a bit, but like publicly, yeah.
I mean, yeah.
Well, they talked about it before, how Gru kind of handed her the reins in a way to say, Like, look, I'm not really capable of being the leader. You should lead us. But yeah, this is the first time publicly it's become known to other characters outside of the Undersiders that Taylor's in charge, at least for now.
Public opinion matters. And Tattletale knows that better than anybody. And I love that. It's a subtle stepping, further back. And, she's still speaking out, but she, allows Taylor to shut her down at times, which is,
Speaking of shutting her down, for Jesus fuck Tattletale, just saying that out loud like that?
Yeah, she just went for it.
I get it, but also...
She just said cauldron, right? She didn't even, say anything else. She was just like,
cauldron! Cauldron! And then...
waited to see who would, flinch.
Yeah, which, who did? Legend with zero subtlety whatsoever.
Yeah, absolute zero
What
subtlety.
a fucking... That's just Superman over in the corner and he hears, kryptonite, and all of a sudden Clark Kent's head just whips around at super speed. Papers blow off the table because he whips so fast.
Basically, yeah.
Supersonic whiplash. Yeah. Yeah, I know. Yeah, Legend not winning the subtle game.
He's, look, he's a good boy. He's not a super
fist.
smart. He is.
I like how I think later on, not to get ahead of the chapters here, but don't they even say, they're like, yeah, I mean, Legend, we didn't tell him everything just because, he couldn't handle it.
He can't keep a secret to save his life.
God damn it.
Yeah. Oh,
yeah.
Well, which it is interesting that he reacts the most. I think now, because we did have that interlude, we can see him that he is on high alert for what's going on with Cauldron.
Yeah.
So it makes sense to hear a significant villain who has sort of cognitive powers is just kind of says, so anyways, Cauldron, and which is kind of how I imagine she says it. I do like Legend though. And I think the story of this arc just shows more of how unlike Alexandria and Eidolon, we're getting closer to the end but of this section, but unlike Eidolon and Alexandria, he really did have the best intentions, right?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I just get that feeling from Legend that he wouldn't have let things happen that Alexandria and Eidolon did. And that's why they didn't let him in on it, right? It was like, Legend would stop us from experimenting on other people.
Yeah.
We got to do that.
Because he's a good boy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Legend is the, Superman
He's
character.
the hero.
Yeah. He is. He is the as close to a hero archetype as you can get in the story, I think.
Yeah, especially after Hero died.
Tish.
Sadness.
I'm gonna have to use it, Nick.
Oh God, that's such a bad joke. Damn it.
All right.
Am I good to move on, Alan?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Chapter 3. Taylor chats with the wards, and Tattletale and Tattletale shares a theory about punching a hole through realities. And there's a whole discourse going on there.
A whole discourse.
I forgot what exactly happens here.
It's fine.
But
Alan doesn't want to dwell on my funnies.
Sorry, I was reading.
I'm sorry. No, go ahead. Sorry, my bad. That vodka's kicking in just a little. No, the vodka's
Hold hole.
Go ahead. No. Go ahead. Please.
I was just gonna say, Tecton. They have a conversation with Tecton over here, and the rest of the Chicago wards that are there. Wanton is back.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
good for him.
He survived.
He made it.
Eidolon was able to de-radioactive him. So good on him. But yeah, Tecton, real great guy. Strong-willed energy, except with all less unnecessary rules following bullshit. What a great guy.
Yeah, Tecton gets a nice honorable mention in our list of honorable capes, I think.
Yeah. I I really like the Chicago wards. They seem really cool.
Yeah. They seem pretty chill.
I think that says a lot probably about Mirrodin as a person as well, right? We don't know much about him, but we know he's in charge of the Chicago wards and the PRT, so whatever influence he's had on them, it must have been a positive one. I think that's good. Similar to Gallant and Aegis and their effect, probably. Those good characters who just helped people develop into better versions of themselves. I think even at a certain point they mentioned that as well, that they seem, the Chicago wards, I think more than the other wards that we've met too, seem very, very like, we need to talk to our higher ups about this. I don't know. I feel like they said that a lot more. Yeah, they go through the proper channels, right? They're like, but that shows a level of trust with the higher ups in the sense of, okay, Mirrodin will know what to do. We should talk to Mirrodin about this. He'll understand. Which kind of does happen later, and they're right. Mirrodin does kind of understand. I mean, kind of, but like they kind of get it. And it says a bit about their relationship, I think, between, as opposed to like Arms Master and the wards.
Oh my gosh, yeah. And
I don't think anybody was going to Arms Master for anything.
Yeah, I mean, just in relation to the Brockton Bay wards, like they're kind of a mess, and they. I mean, I'm sure all the wards fight, but like the Chicago wards just feel more coherent, more of a group dynamic, and the Brockton Bay wards just kind of felt like they were always butting heads and like getting on each other's nerves all the time. Like it seemed like it was a lot.
Yeah,
now, I will
get
say
the
to their credit.
Oh, yeah.
I was going to say to their credit, I think it's gotten better since Miss Militia and Weld took over
and got rid of Shadowstalker.
Ironically, and got rid of Shadowstalker. Ironically, after post Leviathan, it feels like they're functioning better. At least the Weld Miss Militia relationship seems really healthy, from leader to follower.
Yeah, I do like them a lot, and that's probably part of it, just because I really love Weld. But
well, and you get the sense too that like this is touched on, especially at the very, very end, which we'll get into, but you get the sense that Brockton Bay is recovering, like the city is on the mend, and you've got to credit that at least somewhat to Miss Militia and Weld and the heroes doing their part too. So
because they're putting in a lot of effort in order to like keep the city safe, keep the city running. Yeah.
Yep.
I will
I
say,
also think Chicago's doggone it. They're literally the same.
Sorry.
Back and forth again.
That was me, because all I was going to make was an inane comment about how I don't remember much about this chapter in the conversation, to be honest.
Well, they get into talking a little bit about like Scrub's power and like what does he actually do, and they talk a little bit about like the realities between things. We also have a conversation about Gully and kind of how, as Weld has said, and also Gully says, is like they don't tend to put Case 53s in charge of shit. Like they don't tend to let them lead very often, and so Gully is like kind of helping lead stuff, which is exciting. And
I mean, she gets to co-captain, which might be the biggest. Like, but there's that vibe. They're like, because they'll never let her real captain.
Yeah.
But like Weld's got to, which is a big deal, and probably in part because his mentor / adoptive father is a PRT director.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. They do talk in this section about how powers work, right? This idea that the passengers are actually pieces connected to a larger whole, which I think was really interesting.
A multiversal whole.
A multiversal fleshy hole. Exactly.
Yes.
Probably with a flap or two for good measure.
God damn it.
Yes. Well, that's what keeps, people, like Scrub or stuff from busting between the holes.
No.
Oh, gosh.
Okay.
We're just talking about powers.
Of course.
Did anybody see?
Continue.
So Scrub's power, and this is just my childhood kicking in. There's one of my favorite episodes of the Justice League, the old animated Justice League show, which is still goated, by the way, where they're fighting, and I forget who it is. It's like Toymaker or something like that. And he's got a new gun that he developed, that looks like it's just erasing matter, but in reality, it's just sending it to some undisclosed portion of the future. And it's exactly like Scrub's power. It's a great episode, one of my favorites. And that's all I can think about when I keep thinking about Scrub. It's like he's just transporting it to a different dimension. And
the concept, I still get the vibe in this that, it's Tattletale, so she's guessing at it. So while it's almost like her explanation for Night, where she's like, okay, think about this. That's not the correct answer, but that is as close as we're going to get to the correct answer. Because it's the multiverse, and how are you supposed to wrap your head around that?
Which, you know what? Props to Wildbow. That's a great way of just writing away things that are too hard to explain. Like, we get it.
Yeah.
You can't create an entire new dimension of physics that we haven't explored yet for the sake of your story.
Yeah. But oh man, it's so cool because once again, we've talked about Murden's powers, that essentially he's a portal person. That's his magic. And the way he's, shooting fire out or shooting water out or whatever, is that he's opening a tiny portal in his sleeve to the water dimension or to the fire dimension. And it can't help but burst out because, it's fire. And that's where all the fire is going. Like, oh man, he's sitting there just letting fire out for a while. It's like, well, yeah, because he's tapped into a whole dimension that is our world if it were nothing but fire. Like,
yeah.
So like it's with those portals. So it's basically endless. It isn't in reality, but for practicality's sake, it's infinite fire, which then you can go on to explain almost every power. You go through like Marvel and DC, and it's like, oh, well, how do they get all their energy? It's like, where does the speed force or, the metabolism rate explaining the Flash? Like, if you're some sort of speedster, depending on the type, it's like, oh, well, he's really traveling to a different dimension that's very close to our own and moving. Like almost every power gets its own version of planar travel. Like you could probably explain that for like, oh, what is Victoria doing with her, if you wanted to? Oh, what is Victoria doing with her force field? Oh, maybe she's really just bending a portal around her. It's very, thin and easily breakable, but that's all she's doing is she's putting a portal that's, or a thin layer of plane around herself. Like the possibilities are endless.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, and that's what makes it so interesting that
Fun with
Tattletale
portals.
mentions the passengers are multiversal beings, and maybe what's happening with Echidna is that her passenger is trying to emerge into the world, right? And you think about that, and that kind of makes sense because what is Echidna's power? It's taking heroes, which have passengers, and spitting out corrupted versions of them, right? With different modified powers. Do her clones all have passengers? How is that functioning?
Oh.
But it's this idea of, well, if they're all connected to her, who i.e. is a passenger body invading our world, then that kind of makes sense why they all still can have powers, because they're not just clones, they're passengerified clones. And I think maybe that's why you experience that psychological trauma, because it's reminding you of your trigger event, because it's sucking the energy out of your passenger to create the clones and to power the clones.
It's redoing the triggers to re-trigger these new clones, basically.
I think it's also worth pointing out, it's not ever, I don't think, explicitly stated, but I wouldn't be surprised if it's, supposed to be implied as well that all of the travelers are still suffering from the Simurf. So having her influence and effects, lingering effects with Echidna, there could be a whole lot going on there, especially with the psychological elements that it's, she's still being manipulated slightly by all of that.
Yeah.
True.
And we're just talking about biomass alone. Like, where does, because originally, Cody touched her and she
Mhm.
produced 3 clones.
Mhm.
She was not intaking enough biomass to produce that much biomass. So, like, where's the biomass coming from? Well, we have other dimensions,
Mhm.
We're just pulling them through, basically. Like, that's where we're just getting biomass from ambient other dimensions, which is great because then you can also explain like Beast Boy from Teen Titans that way.
Yeah, how do you solve that's the the one underlying like rule breaker for all of these types of stories is that you can't add or take away mass from the universe unless you have other universes. Then it doesn't
I love a
matter.
good shortcut.
Genius move.
Yeah. Well done.
Um,
Moving along. What do we got next?
Yeah. Okay. Up next, we are into the
Interlude.
interlude.
Yes.
And we have Blasto
Oh.
makes a deal with Accord and gets a new lab. But while he's working, Bonesaw and Defiant absolutely trash it. We get some information about capes and about samples and a little bit about the Endbringers. And then Bonesaw wears Blasto like a suit and steals a bunch of the samples. So, fuck.
Let's start all the way back at the beginning of this. Which, because it's a great thematically, we've just been talking about essentially clones. And then we move right into this chapter, which is different types of clones, but same thing. Like, we are talking about sort of how powers work and how they work in regard to reproducing them and stuff.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's thematically it makes sense why Wildbow stuck this interlude kind of in this arc, I think. Man, this was the one, and I was so excited to get to this interlude because this is the one that stuck with me for so long after my first read through. And I was wondering how much of what I remembered was accurate. Turns out it was a good bit of it. I don't know what it was about this interlude, but everything is so memorable. It's got so much cool world building. Blasto is really unique in terms of the way he's described and his mentality. And then, of course,
It's like a plant tinker.
Yeah, he's really cool. I like him a lot. as brief as our time is with him.
So I remember this chapter, like, him getting off or, taken hostage and his information being used by the Slaughterhouse-9. I don't remember any of the other stuff. So this chapter was like out of nowhere for me, kind of.
I don't remember anything ever, so it was all out of
the visual image of like a partially bisected Bonesaw just crawling towards him, not in pain or agony, but like just like it's a bother to her.
Yeah.
And then she's just got to make use of this body, I guess. Like, come here. Like, you're mine now.
Yeah. She's got a prehensile spine.
Oh, that was the creepiest.
Fuck.
That was the creepiest bit.
Fuck. And she just jacks in through his throat.
Yep.
Like, she doesn't wear him like a suit. She fucking shoves her spine down, and so she's like sticking out of his open mouth.
She's sitting on his head, is what it says. Yeah. And she's basically puppeteering him in through his spine.
It's the worst Ratatouille I've ever seen.
There's a whole
Anyone
interlude.
Can clone.
This whole interlude is so visually just interesting.
Powerful.
Like even from when Blasto first, comes into Accord's, I don't know, house, whatever it is.
Chambers.
and into the lab. Yeah, and through his chambers into the lab. But like these like hench people of Accords that are like all dressed up in these fancy masks and these fancy dresses, and it's like very visually appealing. Then we get down into the lab, and you have all of these vats of fluids and all these chemicals and everything, and then you have this like, this is me in my head as I'm reading it, but like the crystal clean white of the lab like slowly getting destroyed, and like there's blood everywhere because Bonesaw's been cut in half, and there are people being thrown around in vats, and there's glass everywhere. Like the whole interlude is so visually interesting, and like this is the one that I really want to see. Like when of course when someone picks up the script and this finally becomes reality. But this interlude is just so cool.
It's great because you feel bad for Blasto, despite the fact that he's literally trying to grow an Endbringer. And
but he's doing it for science, not for chaos.
But it dies at the end. The vat spills open, and his
so
and you're just like, oh no, it doesn't. Like, it's so sad. Yeah.
Yeah, that even the visual descriptions of Accord and the way that he runs his group is really interesting, right? So everything has to match, right? And we've met Accord briefly before, so we know that he is OCD. And so everything has to match, everything has to be pristine. He says, basically, if you would like to remain alive, Blasto, you will stay out of my sight. After we talk here, I never want to see you again. Just bring me confirmation you did what I hired you to do.
I love it.
Which is to get rid of members of the former Empire 88 too, which I thought was really
the
interesting.
Chosen.
The Chosen now, yeah.
Which is why he definitely hired them to wreck Blasto's shop, right?
No.
Maybe.
I would have said no.
Said, like, Blasto like complains like, oh man, yeah, my place got wrecked by those freaking Nazis. And Accord's like, that's terrible. Anyway, I need you to go kill a specific group of Nazis.
Accord.
I'm like,
that's 100% Accord, just being like, yeah, I don't care about your shit. Look, you need to
I think he hired him to wreck his shop so that he can now use him and take his territory. And then he's just going to turn around and use him not only for his own devices, but then also to get rid of the people he just hired. He doesn't want these Nazi rebels running around causing trouble in his town. Like,
troublemakers left and right. But no, I don't think that he hired them. I think that was just an unfortunate cause and effect moment.
I'd agree with you.
Coincidence?
Hard to know.
I think not.
To be fair, there are very few coincidences in the Worm universe, so you could be onto something. I do love the idea of Blasto's power, right? So he's got these growing seeds. He can create. He takes DNA and creates living creatures, and then, like with plants, he basically does like rapid genetic modification where he's cutting off the weak ones, growing the strong ones, cutting off the weak ones, growing the strong ones.
Pruning, he calls it.
Pruning,
which I love.
Yeah. Pruning, of course,
genetic
using
pruning. Pruning.
Yep. Puning.
Jesus.
Genetic puning.
I
don't know why.
He just wants to work. Just leave him in peace. He's an introvert.
Let him cook.
Let him cook.
Let him cook.
Oh, yeah. I love the description of the Endbringer, the Simurf that he's trying to build.
Man.
Is like, oh, nope, too many arms. Like, okay, too many wings. Like, let's try and whittle that down a little bit more. Like, that's so... Because already, I mean, we've talked about this before with the Traveler's arc, but like the Simurf just looking the way that she does, like looking like a, biblically accurate angel, like all the wings and the creepy eyes and whatever. It's like, it's just like this tiny little Endbringer that's just not just like too many arms. Okay. Too many wings. Okay. Well, okay. Too many eyes. Too many eyes. I just love it. It brings me joy.
And let's not skip over what Nick's about to say. Go ahead, Nick.
I'm sorry.
Good job,
I was just
everybody.
gonna say I love the portrayal of somebody in flow as well, in the sense of he's like, wait, have I been working for like a whole day? Oh well.
Yeah, I
he's
love
just
that.
he's just totally in flow, in vibe. He's like, yeah. Don't need sleep. Just gonna keep working.
He's like
What a-
hyper focused.
Yeah. What a great just image. Yeah,
So
I really
great.
liked his character, and I love that he asked. I just love too. It's this great odd couple moment with just him and Accord talking. That whole conversation is great. Where he's like, "You got any grass?" And he's like, "I'm sorry. Would you like to see my yard?" Nah, man. I meant something else. He's like, please do not imbibe substances in my pristine presence. It's like, all right.
I love
That's
it
great.
so much. Yeah, no,
That's great.
have we? Okay, again,
Jacob was
Hannah.
going to say something. I'm sorry.
Oh, I'm sorry,
I don't
Jacob.
wanna-
Yes,
I don't
please
wanna
go ahead.
You
It'll
know.
be end of the chapter. So go ahead first.
Okay.
I was just gonna ask. I can't remember. Accord is the one that the travelers talked to, the trickster talked to, right?
Yes.
Yes.
That murdered what's his face?
Presumably murdered Cody.
Yes. Okay, cool. Because I had this moment where I was like, Accord. Now, who the fuck is this again? and yeah, no, but I remembered. I'm glad I remembered.
Nice.
I like the masks too. I don't know.
Yeah.
He's just got like, as far as getting the villain
So
vibe
classy.
down, he's got it. Yeah, he's classy.
I was gonna say, very few times do you ever see the super costumer as their own, like, I don't know, front runner entity. Like you have Edna Mole and
Who?
the
Edna Mode, he meant.
Mode and Edna Mode. Is it?
Yeah.
No, I didn't even
Mode.
realize that.
Mode.
I thought it was Edna Mole.
Oh no.
But
Why?
Edna Mode, you know, she's like her separate off to the side, and that's how like they all feel. There's I think in the boys, there's a guy called like the Historian, who, you know, is basically Stan Lee for the comic strip, and they go to him for information. Like there's all these characters that are assisting to the heroes, and, you know, costume them and equip them. And this feels like a very interesting time to have somebody who's a front runner, and that's what they do. He like judges you, makes you a costume and a mask, and so that you're perfect. And like, yeah, it's just wild that like he is a front runner villain because of that. Like, yeah,
Well, he's a tinker too, right?
Mm-hmm.
he's a thinker, I believe.
Is he a tinker?
Is he not
I
a
thought
tinker?
I thought he was a tinker as well.
Am I wrong? I thought he was just. I mean, I guess tinker in the sense that he makes the costumes, but
Who is
Editor
this?
Michael, can you check on Accord?
Accord.
no, he is a thinker. I'm looking at his thing now.
Yeah.
Yeah. That would
Okay.
make sense.
I guess that does make a bit more sense, yeah.
But yeah,
What is his power anyway? I know that's kind of a spoiler
we'll-
because he hasn't done
we'll
anything.
talk
yeah,
about
we
it.
can't talk
Yeah,
a
about
future
we'll get to
time.
that.
Oh,
In the future time.
it.
Yeah.
fine.
Comment below if you get that
odd.
reference.
I don't think. I don't think they
That's right.
mention it here. I believe it's mentioned, maybe on Reddit or on Space Battles. But I know that. Do you guys remember Watchdog being mentioned?
No.
No.
Can't say that I do.
They sort of talk about post Vegas going under because of, you know, superpowers being a thing. The government I believe it's the government instituted this group called Watchdog, and their whole goal is just to keep an eye on the economy and stuff, to make sure that nothing's being fucked with.
Interesting.
So they've got a ton of precogs and thinkers that are all just looking at the numbers and being like, oh, somebody's doing some funky stuff with, you know, voting, or something doing funky stuff with Wall Street. Like, that's their whole job.
Mhm.
And as a small aside, Accord, I guess, belonged to them at one point in time.
Oh.
Which, I mean, you know,
Makes sense. Makes
thinker
sense.
power, you know, and making sure that everything's nice and neat and clean. Very much makes sense.
We appreciate that.
Mhm.
Very nice.
I had, forgotten about that until we clicked over to his thing, and I was like, oh yeah, like forgot about Watchdog.
Yeah,
I
it's
did
not
too.
It's
in.
been mentioned
It's
yet.
not in what we're. It's not at all in Worm. So Alan is okay to say what he said. So we're good.
Oh, you can cut that then. Well,
No,
this was
you're good. It's not
mentioned.
in. It's not in this.
It's extracurricular.
It's extracurricular, like you were saying.
Homework stuff. Homework
Yes,
information.
Gotcha.
We're good. We interrupt our scheduled program to bring you a word from our sponsor, Zencastr, a one-stop shop for all your podcasting needs. When we first started this podcast, we knew we needed a service that would let us record remotely. After doing some research, Zencastr was the obvious choice. We started using Zencastr and never looked back. It's super easy to record a podcast with Zencastr. All you do is log in, invite people to join your room, and start recording a high-quality podcast right away. You can record studio-quality sound and up to 4K video with your guests. You can rest easy even if you have an unstable connection, knowing Zencastr's multi-layered backups ensure you always have your recordings in the highest quality. We do all our recording in Zencastr, and when the episode is ready, we can distribute it to all major podcast platforms. Zencastr has made podcasting so much easier with its all-in-one podcasting platform and tools. Go to zencastr.com/pricing and use my code BrocktonbaybC, and you'll get 30% off your first month of any Zencastr paid plan. I want you to have the same easy experiences I do for all my podcasting and content needs. It's time to share your story. That's zencastr.com/pricing and use our code BrocktonbaybC. And now back to our scheduled programming.
Last thing I'll say about this interlude is let's not skip over Defiant just being on a mission and not letting anything stand in the way of his vibroblade or whatever he calls it.
Oh, you mean his nano kick that he got to do?
Yeah.
His nano thorn kick? Jesus Christ.
So, there's this, I'm sure you guys have seen the meme. There's a meme about like old surgeons back in the day. And there's apparently it recorded. There is the deadliest surgery ever recorded was a surgery with a 300% mortality rate, where the doctor cut a guy's leg off. That was the surgery, but did it so quickly and carelessly that he killed the patient, cut the artery of the nurse that was helping him, and so she died.
What?
And then the scene was so chaotic, another nurse died of like just shock. It was like
She just had a heart attack. There was too much blood. She couldn't handle it.
It was just the
Holy
worst day
shit.
ever, and that's just kind of how I imagine Defiant in this scene, is just swinging this this blade all over the place because he kills one of Accord's ambassadors, whatever they're called. I forget who he kills.
Yeah.
It's not Citrine. Citrine's the first one.
Damsel? Is it Damsel?
No, it's
No,
not
Damsel's the
Damsel.
one that what's her freaking fucking shit. What is her name? Bonesaw brings in.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's right.
She
okay.
has Damsel.
They had grabbed her because she was a Boston resident, and they'd snagged her at their
Right.
last in an outlier town to Boston. They'd snagged damsel in distress.
That's
from
right.
there, and
That's
that was the
right.
last time we saw Defiant and Dragon, I believe.
But he's just slicing and dicing.
Yeah. Although I do think that may be one of the reasons we like Blasto, right? Is because he looks at the situation. Bonesaw says, if you keep going, you're going to kill this guy. And Defiant kind of looks at him, and Blasto just goes, yeah, cool. I get it.
I guess
Totally
so.
get it.
Yeah. Also, fuck. It's the 9. Like,
Yeah.
if you get them, like, good on you.
It's just I know what I'm about, son.
Yeah. Also, he's got her at the end of this spear, and he's like speared her and like slapping her against the walls.
Mhm.
And then she's like, "What? You're not gonna come over and like deal with this little girl? You're too afraid?" And of course, he like she's gonna spit acid in his face or some shit. He's
Right.
like, "Nah, gonna keep you away with a 12-foot pole."
Yeah.
Just keep stabbing
Oh
her.
god.
Why he is my favorite. He's done.
And then, unfortunately, couldn't get out of whatever web she spit in the doorway. So, she was free to take her sweet time and
God.
inject herself into Blasto and spend some time on the computer.
Which,
Yeah.
by the way, there is fan art of Bonesaw Blasto.
Oh, no. Which one of
Hmm.
you sick fucks did this?
Blast
Wait,
saw.
Bonesaw and
you
Blasto? No, where?
If you go,
What website? So I can avoid it.
it's on the Blasto on the Worm Wiki. If you look at Blasto, it's a really good piece of art. Anyone should
I'll definitely look in
I'm
that
gonna
up.
look it up
Why
right
are
now.
you making me do this?
Blasto
Blasto.
worm. Doop 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 doop. Oh, that's a cute.
He's
look
a
at
wet
him. He's such a
tinker, which,
cutie.
as we've established, means he's a nacho.
Oh, my.
Sorry, salad?
What is
we'll
this
figure it out later.
illustration? Wait, I clicked it and it took me. No. God damn it!
Where did it take you?
It took me to Reddit.
Gross.
Why is it doing that? No. Okay, I'm in too deep now.
I
gotta get back out. How did I?
Oh, it's in the gallery at the bottom.
Okay, in the gallery. Okay, I'll click through.
And I also went to Reddit. And
Oh, yeah.
yep,
Lord.
I see what happened.
That's
Yeah,
disgusting.
you disgusting.
Gross. Okay,
All
Moving on. We got.
Are we ready?
Oh,
Yeah.
well, I was
We got
going to say,
some
did they
work to
get?
do.
They got like 4 Slaughterhouse 9 members in that fight, right?
no.
I think is what
Well,
they said.
They
got it.
killed. Yes, but it's not like known. Like they've been recruiting this whole time, and they've just been whittling down the recruits. So it's not like named
Yeah.
members.
But they did get
But-
Manton.
Except they got Manton. That's
Except
a
they
big deal.
got Manton.
right. I forgot. I skipped over that. Yeah,
They got Manton. So the
at the
only
end.
2 that I'm aware that are left
Jack.
are
Bonesaw.
Jack and Bonesaw.
Well,
Hold on,
that's
let me think about
basically
this.
Well, we don't know if
all it
Hookwolf.
was.
We don't know if Hookwolf is.
Storm Tiger.
I was gonna say-
Hookwolf.
I'm going to say, I'm pretty sure they got Airwolf.
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 Yeah, I mean,
Airwolf.
it was only Jack, Bonesaw, Manton, and Hookwolf that left Brockton Bay, and so, it's really just Jack and
Wait,
Bonesaw
and
that
Mannequin,
matters.
right?
No,
No,
Mannequin
Mannequin
got
real dead.
glassed.
Mannequin.
Oh, you're right. He
don't
did get
dead
glass.
so
That's
be.
right, in his
Yeah.
little pose. I remember.
Yeah.
You're right.
Yeah.
But
Him
yeah,
and
I
Crawler.
thought it said that they'd gotten that Dragon said that they'd gotten 4 of them.
Well, yeah,
Um,
but it's because that they've been recruiting this whole time.
So it's
It's sort of
the
implied that they've been
recruits.
picking up new members, and that Dragon and Defiant have just been whittling them down, preventing them
Yeah.
from getting
Yeah.
stronger again.
yeah.
We
I
love
was like,
that.
so yeah, 4 in one fight. Man, you're almost as good as the Undersiders. Keep it up.
He's getting
good.
there. He's getting there.
Yeah, dang.
Are we ready for chapter 4?
I think we better be. We got a few chapters to get through.
Yeah. Quite a few actually. So chapter 4, Taylor retrieves Atlas. Yay, we love Atlas.
Woo.
Tattletale spills some cauldron secrets, and Echidna starts round 2 as she bursts forth from the earth.
So is this the chapter, because a couple of these bled for me, is this the chapter where Miss Militia puts a gun in Tattletale's mouth?
Yes.
yes.
'Cause that was
Yes, it
that
is.
was a little
Hot.
far, Miss.
Yeah.
Consider me scared and aroused. Yeah. I know that she's like, I'm not Cauldron, but sure feels like you're doing all of Cauldron's work.
I guess what I
Every
kept
ship
saying to
is
myself.
possible. You have a
Wait.
a stay.
I just needed the every
actually-
ship as possible clip real quick. So.
Actually, as soon as you said that, I immediately started thinking, because there's also a moment later at the very end with Alexandria and Tattletale where Alexandria wraps her hands around Tattletale's throat. So Tattletale's just getting
Tattletale's
felt up
having a
by
rough
all the
day.
mommies today.
Well, don't forget that too. And like, she's getting shut up by everybody is telling her to shut the fuck up.
Mhm.
Like, she
Yeah.
also has Taylor fly a fly down her
A fly
throat
down
when
her
she goes
throat,
to
she
open-
chokes
goes
on
to
it.
say something, and she's like,
So gross.
Yeah, Tattletale's
Fuck
just
up,
trying her
Lisa.
best.
Oh man.
Yeah.
It does feel like in this chapter, in this whole arc, I mean, as it does in several other points, it does feel like, man, if you guys would just let Tattletale do her damn thing, we would be in a much better place.
Yeah.
Echidna would be dealt with. Brockton Bay would be healing. You'd probably have an Endbringer or two dead at this point, you know?
Yeah.
Like, just let
We'd be
her
on our
cook.
way. We'd be well on our way.
Honestly, Lisa's just upset that she's not part of Cauldron. That's really what the issue here is. And she's going to make enough noise until she gets the invite. It's like, hey, like to join our evil council? And she's like, would I?
Yeah.
No, but you kind of touched on it for a second there. That's kind of what I wanted to ask about was like, Miss Militia is not a Cauldron cape. Why is she
that we know of?
Well, right. I mean, from what I mean, this is not a spoiler because I don't remember if this has changed at all. But like, we see her trigger. We know that she's probably working for Cauldron. I think we can assume that much based on this. But like, she doesn't owe anything to them. She's not indebted to them that we're aware of, right?
Here's what I think it is. I don't think it's a Cauldron thing. I think it's an Alexandria thing.
I was going to argue that it's a heroes thing. It's like you when it comes down to it, it's you versus them. And so you're going to side with the heroes because you're doing the right thing and you have to believe that they are doing what they think is best, you know? And so like I think there's this idea like it's like a sunk cost fallacy. Like you've understood that well, you know, they lead the Triumvirate, the Protectorate, like they're supposed to take care of us and I'm part of that system. So I'm going to back people up because I'm supposed to because we're heroes. We're in this together against the villains. And I think that like that is taken to a point where it's like, well, I mean, when faced with all of the truths, it's still hard to swallow the truth, you know?
So I'm going to argue that it's actually more the opposite of that. And here's my reasoning why. I think, based on the previous conversation with Skitter and Weld and Miss Militia, I think Miss Militia knows that something is up, right? She's kept a close eye on a lot of the stuff. We don't know what she knows, but she's been getting higher up in the PRT. And I get the sense that she stops Tattletale not just because she's worried about the heroes versus villains thing. I think she kind of wants to believe them, but doesn't want to be around Alexandria when she's explaining it or around the other, potentially Cauldron capes. I don't know exactly what it was, but I got the vibe more that it was just like, now is not the time. And we really don't need to talk about this now because we're about to be in a big fight. I do want to hear what you have to say, but do not like basically she's saying like, please do not make Alexandria, Legend, and Eidolon all run away right before we have to fight.
Right. Don't antagonize our biggest hitters right before.
Yeah. Good conversation, Tattletale. Shut up because we're gonna mess things up right before a big fight.
Shut the fuck up.
Yeah.
Shut the fuck up, Friday.
Learn later, like Legend freaking reads lips, and I'm surprised, others don't have super hearing, so what's preventing them from being like striding over and being like, oh, gotta snap Tattletale's neck. She was about to fucking help Echidna. People
right,
like,
exactly.
Like,
and I think Miss Militia knows that they need Tattletale still at this point. She's like, please do not make these people kill you. Like, kind of, I don't know. I kind of got more of a defensive vibe from it. I know it came out aggressive, and obviously that's how it turns out and how it appears. But I don't know why. But I got the idea that it wasn't. I don't like you. Stop talking. I don't know.
She could have backhanded her. She could have done anything, but she sticks a gun in her mouth. Like that is.
She it's her power. She knows no other way.
Well, okay. Yeah, I don't know about that.
No, I like that interpretation. It's not how I read it, but I think that's a valid reading. I did read a bit more aggressive, but I mean, again, if you're trying to shut up a cape whose power is to talk, then you gotta close the mouth.
You gotta do what you gotta do.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Also, it's a good explanation of like when Lisa, basically says, "Hey, it's all the big three." And they were like, well, what about Murden? It's like, it's not Murden. I'm like, yeah, that's why he's not on the triumvirate.
Yeah.
Like,
Did I stutter? I said the big three.
yeah. I didn't say the big three and their little brother.
It was actually just Murden using a portal to another Murden's voice in the back. Well, what about Murden? Like it's just,
Yeah, what did that guy said?
yeah. He's pretty cool, right?
Yeah. Also, I think it's interesting looking at Miss Militia in comparison to her former, what was I going to say when you take someone's place?
Replacement.
What do we No, she would be the replacement.
Oh man.
Whoever held her job before her. That's the word I'm looking
Predecessor?
for. Predecessor. Thank you. Goodness gracious. Her predecessor, Arms Master. How they feel like when it comes to their careers, she doesn't really care about the career route. She cares about just doing her job. Whereas Arms Master did have that bit of ego where he's like, I think I deserve to move up the ladder. Miss Militia is not concerned with that. And at the same time, I feel like she takes a lot of the same actions that Arms Master would have. I think Arms Master would have done the thing like, "Hey, shut up! I will investigate this because I think he would be genuinely curious about this, and would probably track it down. Maybe ultimately siding with Cauldron, but who knows? But I feel like he would also be like, "Shut up! I'm going to investigate. Don't say a goddamn word." Like, and stick a spear in her mouth or something like that. Like, it definitely she feels very much like she emulates a lot of what Arms Master does or would have done. But all at the same time, she has like a different, she obviously has different values. So for her, like, it really is kind of about doing the right thing and holding this all together for right now.
Yeah, I think that's a pretty valid insight into that. I love that. It's not how I read it, but I like that.
I think that's more what I was going for too, is that she's just trying to keep everybody cohesive and not let Tattletale blow it all up.
Right copacetic even?
Copacetic, yeah. Keep it all copacetic,
baby.
I think it's also worth
Somewhere Wild
remembering.
Bow is getting hard.
Yeah, it's worth remembering that the last time Miss Militia let Tattletale do her thing post Leviathan fight, the Protectorate also broke down, and Arms Master was outed, and it was a whole shit show. So there's
and Legend like threw shit around and then went off in a temper tantrum. Let's not forget that time too.
Yeah. So Tattletale doesn't have a good history with Miss Militia in terms of keeping the peace.
But also, again,
Tattletale doesn't have a good history with anyone.
When was she wrong?
When was she? Well, okay. Tattletale's been wrong a couple times.
Although she does talk about that.
She does.
She does. Yeah. She does mention that to Taylor. Like, hey,
but
look, I realize that it probably wasn't the best choice. It didn't seem like the best choice at the time, but like, I weighed the options, and it was the least problematic.
Yeah. But then we keep getting into a bigger conversation. More people just keep coming over, and they're like, "Hey, everybody not related to this, fuck off." And
walk away.
And Murden's like, "Hey, Gully, walk away." And basically, with all due respect, essentially go fuck yourself, Murden.
It's fine. I'll go fight a kid by myself. Fine.
Yeah. and then Weld, who did get to be a team captain, still chooses to stand over next to her. What a couple of absolute ballers.
We love Weld.
Yeah.
Love Weld.
I
will say that is
the
one moment where it does feel like they're standing up to someone who's like, "Hey, I've cared a lot about you. You know that I'll talk to you later." And they're like, "No, this is for me now, right? Like, I need to know this."
Yeah.
Yeah. And then Jesus Christ, Legend, like, back to this again. At least try to keep a fucking secret. Like, he like comes over and is, "Guys, like, I heard you say Cauldron, so let me tell you everything." It's like, oh my God.
Who are they?
And even then, he's still lying. Like,
Yeah. Cauldron? I've never heard of a cauldron. I've never been to their
Cauldron,
secret
I barely
bases.
know her.
Yeah.
All right.
Definitely
That was-
don't go looking out at the oil rig out in the Atlantic. You won't find any
Oh.
secret entrances over there.
Don't worry about
Yeah.
it. Don't
Yeah.
worry about it.
Legend. All right,
Yeah.
let's.
Who is it that says the phrase? Because they're talking about this, and they're like, I think it's Legend that's still saying this, and he's like, yeah, we were trying to see if we could make capes without trauma to drive them to villainy, which I'll be honest, sounds like some pop psych bullshit.
Yeah.
I
Go on.
mean,
Okay, so there is. I say this a lot. The whole like hurt people as a joke, and
you say it as a
while-
joke.
yeah.
I always thought you were serious. I mean,
like as a joke, like it's you. I mean, and you could generally like say like, oh yeah, like cycles of the different cycles of violence, cycles of abuse, yada yada yada. But that is not a absolute rule, and it kind of has a bit of a stigma in the psych community because that gets thrown around enough that like, oh, why is this person the way they are? It must be because of their family or some
their
incident.
childhood.
Yeah, it must be part of their childhood. Look back, it must be repressed memories. When in fact, some people are just pieces of shit and they don't need an excuse. Like, point Emma, you know? Uh, she has her traumatic moment, but she was kind of being a sort of a bitch before then. So, like, who's to say that she wouldn't have been a bitch sans the trauma? But yeah, I just was like, oh man, this fucker and his like, well, if they have trauma, then then they're obviously going to probably become villains. And it's like, people have trauma all the time. And granted, they don't get superpowers, but that doesn't necessarily mean that all of these people who have trauma then are on the, move to pass on their trauma. Like that's not a 100% thing.
It's not an absolute. Sure.
Yeah, I was just like, in Legend, that is it's dangerous to look at it like that.
But at least in their world, it is kind of backed up by
I was about to
some
say,
evidence because
yeah.
they talk about how many more villains there are than heroes at the time when they founded Cauldron. So there is some evidence that, and I think that generally, although we do not have superpowers in our world, the outcomes, while there are people who are simply assholes because they want to be assholes for whatever reason, if you take a somewhat controlled group of people versus a group of people who've experienced a lot of trauma, I think you are going to end up with a higher percentage of people who are just worse people in general.
Mm.
So
I don't
a bit of a
disagree
point
with you, but coming from Legend specifically, I was just like, you fuck.
Well, yeah, coming from Legend specifically.
Yeah,
Well, I think
yeah.
too, what really corrupts it, right, is that if that was the ideal, then Cauldron instead turning it into a profit machine and just selling it to whoever has money.
Yeah.
That's where the issue lies then, because then you're just selling it to the highest bidder. Just because someone's got enough money to pay for Cauldron doesn't mean they're a good person. And in fact,
Right.
probably means the opposite.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, we talk about that they do psych tests and stuff because not that screens for, we don't know what they're screening for necessarily. Maybe just unstableness, but you could be
Yeah.
completely stable and a piece of shit. Like
Yeah.
in, but back to the profit thing. Like they talk about, yeah, our funds went to Endbringer recovery, which could be true, or is that how Coyle got a ton of his money?
Yeah.
Maybe.
Like,
I never say.
did they like grassroots start his ass, and then he was like, "Oh, if I had some capital, I could work with this." And they were like, "You know what? Have some moolah."
Well, and what do they mean by Endbringer recovery? Because that literally could just be Eidolon's vaccines.
Right.
Yeah.
You know?
It could be Eidolon's vaccines. I'd like to think that it's like literally all the stuff that Coil had,
Yeah,
prepped.
basically.
Like, he had a lot of supplies, and on one hand you could go, oh, that's just Coil thinking ahead. On the other hand, you could go with, well, maybe he was given that money specifically to do that because, Cauldron was like, hey, you need to prep for Endbringer stuff. That's part of we give you a ton of money. You do that. And he's like, I was thinking about that anyway. And they're like, perfect. Then this won't be that big of a deal.
Could be. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And then this legend motherfucker goes and is like, actually the Case 53s were Manton or someone else, maybe. It's like, Tattletale is right there, legend. You know that she calls you on your bullshit. You're looking at her. It's bullshit, legend. How are you this dumb?
And I bet that's what he's been told too. Honestly, I think he's not telling a lie in his mind. He's probably telling what he thinks is the truth.
No, because he went to the meeting. He brought the lie
That's
detector.
True. That is true.
And he knows it's a lie.
That's true. That is a good point.
All right,
in his mind, it's the noble lie. But we can move on.
He could have taken the opportunity to be like, "Oh man, I don't know, but I have my suspicion." Anything else. Just like, you've already been caught in the lie.
Yeah.
Just, if you're gonna be a blabbermouth about it, which you are, like, just keep it going.
Yep.
Anyway,
19.5.
Yep. All right. Taylor gives some directions. Clones run quite amok. And Noelle, unfortunately, gets two big old chomps and swallows Alexandria and Eidolon. And now we're fucked.
Yeah, that's not good.
It's not good. It's real not good.
Mm-hmm. Before we get to that, though, the Chevalier, also known as a Chevalier,
thank you
by some, or as some of our friends across the pond might say, Chevalier.
Don't you mean Chevalier?
Yes, my favorite kind of cheese.
No.
Chevalier cheese. Anyways, Chevalier and Mirrodin working together is really cool. I love both of their vibes. Chevalier, just with his Cloud Strife Buster ass sword.
Yes.
Don't you mean Squall cool. Ass Gunblade?
Also, that is both, man. It's both, and it's both. Wonderful. And I don't know if he has to do it, but if he doesn't have to, I love Mirrodin's commitment to the wizard bit. Like, Rand's got a staff and robe. He's writing runes in the sky and opening portals to other dimensions. And I'm like, yeah. Oh, that's the good stuff.
Like, it's very obvious that Chevalier and Mirrodin are friends outside of the Cape world, and they are hardcore nerds. They are absolutely 100% like going to conventions together when they're not, on patrol. I mean, Chevalier is a huge anime fan, obviously. He's every.
I was say Armsmaster and Chevalier have a kind of really similar powers. Now that I think about it,
they are both similar. Well, because Armsmaster's specialty is being able to condense items, like condense things.
Yeah,
and he can like fold items into condensed spaces. But Chevalier,
I don't know if he can fold. He just finds a way to make compact versions.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't know if he's space bending as opposed to Chevalier, who is like actually warping space.
Yeah, well, because Chevalier is not a tinker. I think that's the difference. He's not a tinker. Chevalier's power.
I thought he was a tinker.
No, his power just allows him to combine aspects of different objects together.
Is that not
Doesn't he
somewhat of
also?
a tinker power?
No, never mind. I'm
Like
thinking
it's
of
not
Defiant.
I mean, he uses it to make armor and weapons, which is tinker-ish, but it's not like a tinker doesn't have an innate power. They just have, the ability to make things.
Okay.
Yeah.
So he is a striker. Is his classification?
Yeah, because it's touch based, right? I guess is what they're
Striker,
saying.
thinker.
Okay.
He's a striker and a thinker.
Okay.
He has the power to combine properties of several items into one, selectively taking their attributes into his primary weapons. He viewed these different attributes as shapes and lines and an abstract representation of the object's properties.
Yeah.
So basically his distinctive cannon blade was constructed by overlaying 3 distinct swords, a decorative ceramic blade with a molecular cutting edge, a functional lightweight aluminum sword for ease of use, and a massive steel sword usually transported as the floor of a dragonflight carrier, with all identical cannon mechanisms built within.
Oh, so cool.
Damn.
I want that sword so bad.
hard right now.
Yeah. I mean, literally, you look at like the drawing that Wild Bow drew, and honestly, it is a combination of the Buster Sword and the Gunblade, and it's wonderful, and I love it.
It's great.
Here's the thing, though: they're very different kinds of nerds, right? Chevalier and Mirrodin. My theory is that Chevalier is the anime nerd. You got that right. Mirrodin, though, you know how I won't say every, but you know how most young boys at some point go through a phase in their childhood where they're really into the Middle Ages.
Yeah.
Mirrodin
Girls
just never
do that
outgrew
too.
that
I
phase.
just want to tell
girls
you.
probably do too. Okay, good. I'm glad to know it's universal, right? But like, you're just like, oh yeah, knights, yeah, swords, yeah, castles, yeah. Mirrodin just never grew out of that phase, right? He read
100%.
King Arthur and Merlin and was like, this is me. I will be this man one day. And he was.
He gives strong what's the dude from Ready Player One who like is the big nerd that makes the whole Oasis? Is it Ogden or was that I think that's his best friend. But it gives that guy vibes where he's just like, yeah, Murden kind of feels like a socially awkward dungeon master that got powers and is now in charge.
Yeah, that's pretty accurate. They gave the keys to the city to the wizard.
The wizard.
The wizard.
The Wizard King has spoken.
And just imagine that they have some super nerdy like combo names for their team ups.
Oh, like they're shouting their attacks like they're in an anime. Oh god,
100%. Absolutely.
That's a great mental image, and I love it. But then bad things happen. And the heroes get a little too close. They dug too deep into the flesh, so to speak.
Let's not dig too deep into the flesh.
You know what they...
Oh, Hannah, I'm so glad you're on the flesh boat now.
It's a flesh boat? Why does it have to be a flesh boat? This is a
It
good
doesn't
one.
have to, but it is.
It doesn't have to be. Yeah, exactly.
Of course,
Alan
the
gets it.
replicator like power, the replicator hero is kudzu. Like, man, I don't know if y'all have ever been to North Carolina, but they used to have to burn entire like mountainsides to get rid of that shit, and it's still there, eating the whole state. Ooh.
It's true. It is funny that Taylor mentions it's a Japanese sounding name because it is an Asian plant, but it is like for me, it's like such a Southern thing. It's like, oh yeah, kudzu. It's freaking everywhere, man. Apparently, you can eat it like spinach.
Huh.
Yeah, I've heard.
Just because you can eat something doesn't mean you should.
I just had a drink the other day that had kudzu in it.
How was it?
It was good.
What did it taste like?
Alcohol.
Oh.
I mean, the kudzu was like a small ingredient in a larger drink.
It's unfortunate.
Yeah, it was weird.
Wasn't very kudzu forward then, huh? Anyways,
no.
kudzu dialogue aside.
Never thought I'd hear that.
What,
Yeah.
kudzu forward?
Yeah.
That's the slang the kids will be throwing around soon. Right
Uh-huh.
after stand on business, you'll have kudzu forward.
I like it. I'll use it.
Ugh. Man, Weld, Atlas, and Skitter back to back in the fight.
Ugh, I love that.
I was here. This
Love
was
that.
the Avengers scene, the swinging camera, getting ready. I was so here for it.
Mm.
It was a good moment.
Weld takes his serrated blades to the back of the one dude's head, which is gross, but pretty cool.
Oh, and Skitter is safe now because Scapegoat puts his powers onto a clone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, right. Yeah, that was
Fuck
cool.
clone.
Yeah. That clone got real. Because after that, Scapegoat went and healed a bunch of other people. So he's just like limping around half dead.
Poor
Grabs
guy.
a clone and is
Yep.
like, finally.
I
Yeah,
can
they're like
see.
carrying him around.
Yeah.
God, what a terrible power. Poor
I
guy.
know.
I feel so
know.
bad for him.
Yeah, it's really
No
not
wonder
a great
he's like,
power.
I will do this for money so that I do not have to do this.
Yeah. He's very he's kind of done with this. You can tell. Like, yeah, all right. One last ride. All right, moving on. What we got?
Yeah.
19.6.
0.6.
Oh,
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. So here's where 19.5 and 6 blended for me. So I clearly
Yeah, a
do
little
not
bit.
have a divider
Yeah.
between that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is where things kind of blended.
It's just fight.
Chevalier
Thank you.
takes his shot. The Psycho Eidolon drops Bombshell, telling all about his connection with Cauldron. And Taylor cuts Noelle deeply with Clockblocker's help, which, gosh, what a lovely little bit of
Hell
teamwork.
Yeah.
Fuck yes, it felt good.
That was such
That
a
was
good
great.
moment.
Probably
I was so happy.
one of my favorite
Oh.
moments of this arc for sure.
One of my favorite moments of maybe the entire story. It's so good. Well, let's
I
get there.
remember having to read this twice the first time I read this, way back in the day,
Yeah.
where I was like, well, what? Like, what just happened?
It
What a
is
great
one of
moment. It's so good.
it's like it's just such a beautiful merging of powers that I did not see coming, but made so much sense. It was like it just speaks to Wildbow's ability to develop powers and characters in this way, because it doesn't feel like cheap. It doesn't feel forced. It's just like a great natural moment where she has this idea and it all sort of comes together and it works perfectly. It's so good. It's just a great paragraph.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. And it's a twofer as well. It's not just Noelle, but also the line that's like attached to her is wrapped around the pole and up to
Yep.
Yeah.
Was it evil?
Eidolon.
Psycho
Eidolon.
And so he like goes to like jerk his hand away and it's just stuck in place so it like breaks.
So has anyone seen, as a similar scene visually, has anyone watched the 3-Body Problem?
Yeah.
We
on
did not
Netflix?
finish
Yeah.
it, but we got a bit of voice into it.
Did you get to the
Yes.
scene?
The
That's like-
nanofiber.
yeah, the nanofiber scene? That's what made me think of this. It's like, oh, so that's what that would have looked like.
Yeah.
But
There's another movie where this happens.
It's the zombie one. It's the zombie killer, but it's not zombies. It's a different shit. Fuck. It's wait, okay, hold on. This is my nerd moment. It is that it was a bunch of games and then they made a bunch of movies and it's like zombies, but it's not quite zombies. They're like something else. And there's a part where they're infiltrating the base and they're in the hallway and the lasers come flying down the hallway and it gets the first guy and then the next time it happens they're like ready, except the lasers come through in a different formation and that you can't run from and just slice
Do you remember
Slice
what
and
the
dice.
name of the movie is now, Hannah?
Give me just a second, because it's like, dude. See, here's the thing. I can see the actor from the video game, stupid face.
Yeah, and there's a hot Dommy Mommy in a new one.
There is a hot Dommy Mommy in it. Just don't say it, and I'll be thinking about it. And when I remember, I'll just shout. No hints, Nick.
Okay,
you'll come back to it. We'll see if you make it to the end, and I'll tell you.
Tell me at the end, because I'll think about it and I'll remember.
That is a good one. Not the one I was thinking about. I believe there's a movie or a show in which a bunch of people are dancing on a boat, much like this one, but it's like everybody at once, and they all like one of the boat cables like quickly like whips through.
Wait.
And
I know.
That sounds like Final Destination.
Is it Final Destination? No, the one on the boat.
Okay.
They talked about it in the
They did
in the Corridor Digital Cruise analyzing of movies and such.
I don't remember at all which movie it was.
I don't remember what that one was.
Before.
But let me think. I'm gonna keep thinking about the video game one. Don't you worry.
But no, all the way back, Jacob. Yes, I did think about that as well.
Sorry.
With the whole like slicing and dicing. What a scene.
Great scene. Great moment. Highlight of the arc. But we did skip past Psycho Eidolon, or Eidolon, I guess, as we're supposed to say.
Is it Eidolon?
What do you think?
Yes,
okay.
Yeah.
Hold on, real quick. About his powers.
Yeah.
What do you think his warp powers are now?
Psycho Eidolon?
Yeah, Psycho Eidolon. Like, we know that before, like, his powers were essentially he took time, he would build up, and he would basically hold on to 3 different powers. But this new one appears to have this whole flickering thing in which he can do different abilities, but it's almost like when he flickers,
he like glitches.
The abilities are almost instantaneously like there, kind of. Does anybody have any guesses as to what it is? I don't know the answer, but
so Skitter kind of makes a couple of guesses that I think make sense, right? So we know that Noel or Echidna modifies powers, but so what I'm thinking maybe it is, in part, is that he retains the original Eidolon's ability to grab powers, but I think maybe it's more physical than the other Eidolon. So he's actually, whereas Eidolon is usually, and maybe Eidolon can do this too, but Psycho Eidolon is taking physical things from other universes. Whereas
that explains the knife.
Yes, whereas regular Eidolon takes powers from other universes. Psycho Eidolon is literally being like, oh, I need a suit. Boom, have a suit. I need new body parts. Boom, new body parts. And he's pulling them rapidly from other universes. That's what the flickering thing is, I think. And then when he's moving out of the way of those shots, and like they say, like slowly the shots start missing and he's out of the way. Theoretically, he's saying, I'm flickering myself into other universes where the exact same thing is happening, but I'm slightly to the left. Something like that, maybe. That's just maybe an out there theory, but that's what came to mind.
I'm not opposed to that. I'm here for that theory.
Yeah, it's interesting. As I'm trying to find something on the Worm fandom page, one of the trivia facts is Eidolon can mean an unsubstantial image or an ideal or an idealized figure, which is interesting because he like both in this power and his other power, he is very insubstantial. Like he can't hold on to his powers for too long. His power is fading in general, and this new one is a very flickery image as its power. So that is, I think that's just interesting.
It's definitely a very interesting take on Eidolon, that's for sure.
Yeah. What I don't see in here is his relationship to the Psycho Eidolon, and I'm a little upset that is not talked about in here. Huh. Okay. But yeah, that was odd that he was pulling stuff from other universes, thus again leading into, if that's what he was doing, thus again leading to more multiversal stuff in this arc.
We just
Very
have a
multiversal
lot of it packed in. There's like a lot of little
Yeah.
things.
Yeah, I mean, well, this whole
yeah.
arc is sort of a big story revelation for the story
Yeah.
with Cauldron and all of this and the admissions, and then Tattletale sort of figuring things out about other dimensions. And so
And
it's
the
like,
passengers. And,
yeah, it's a culmination of this aspect of the world building that we've kind of been building to for a while. So it's kind of neat to see it all sort of coming to light at the same time.
We haven't had it for a while, but Taylor's like, man, if I, was trying to come up with a one-liner here as I do my big move and get, Eidolon, I would have said something like, flicker this, which she's immediately like, that's dumb. No, that's great, Taylor. Don't doubt yourself. If there's one thing I could sit her down, I'd be like, you got to stop doubting yourself on this. You're funny. You just got to let it out,
You're funny,
Absolutely.
Taylor. You really are.
I did love that, the flicker this. That's so good.
What would you call? So I'm sure there's Clockblocker, Skitter ships, of course. I'm just gonna say TikTok is my guess of what they are, or
I like that.
bug blocker, or I'm trying to come up with something else. Skit talk, maybe.
Skit talk? No. No, I think TikTok is the right answer.
Yeah,
I like
better than
TikTok.
Clitter, because I don't like.
Okay.
God damn it.
What would you name their wombo combo here, though? Because the only thing that I could come up with was Web of Time.
Oh, I
Web
like
of
that.
Time.
I like that a lot, actually.
Any other bids for a cool combo name there?
Um,
I mean, yeah, Web of Time is good. Like Stuck in Time. Trying to think of thread related. Like
Nick, do you have
yeah, I
something
just heard
to share?
Nick laughing.
This is, you can cut this out, Michael. It's totally unrelated.
God damn it.
Just came in. And she was like, she saw that I was drawing while I was still recording. She's like, what are you drawing?
Oh, no.
I'll post the
What
updated
are you
version.
drawing?
Oh no.
It's a hot dog.
And immediately looked at me and she's like, oh, I don't like that.
Wait, hold on.
Nice.
And you too could find it.
Okay,
I was gonna
explain.
say-
What is it? Got that dog in me?
Yeah.
I got that dog in me.
No.
And it's a hot dog doing a JoJo
Well,
pose.
now we have to post this on our socials.
Yeah, no, Nick, you want to go
Look at
ahead
his
and
abs.
plug your store while you're at it?
I'm so sorry. Her reaction got me, and I was trying to keep it quiet while you guys were talking.
No, it was too good. You have to
you
share
keep that
something
in.
about it.
Nick, what store could people find this in a future time?
My Redbubble store and my Instagram and TikTok handle are all Winter's Knickknacks. Knickknacks is spelled NIKNAKS. But yeah, I like to have something to do with my hands while we're talking, and drawing has become
talented artist, so you should definitely.
Yeah.
Well,
I
thank
thought you were about to
Michael.
say he's Italian, and I was like,
He's
yeah, gotta
Italian.
look my hands.
No.
I gotta talk with my hand. No, I'm not Italian. I'm sorry for all the Italians listening. But no, I'm so sorry. It was just this reaction of just the guttural disgust.
I've never related to Krista more. I love that so much.
And she was trying to be quiet too, because she knew we were recording. So she was just quietly like, "No,
Ew.
oh no."
Why? So good.
Sounds like
Love
you're
it.
just getting all the Bad Ape memes going around with Bad Ape from Planet of the Apes stuff. Oh
No.
no!
Yeah, I've seen those. I've seen some of those.
That's what
Yeah.
I'm thinking of.
Anyways, where were we? I'm so sorry.
We were talking about the cauldron, the Clockblocker, Web in Time,
Yeah,
Wombo combo.
the name for their
yes,
Wombo
the name
combo.
of the Wombo combo.
Yeah. But if we want to move on from that, they were talking about my biggest gripe, and I think about this, as much as the marquee thing. It didn't bother me when I was originally reading because I was reading all of this. I didn't know how people were pronouncing stuff, but I knew that this was a fuck up. This was a fuck up that I couldn't let go, and I've held on since the very first moment I read this. They sit there and they go, "Oh, what are we going to think about these cauldron made capes? The cauldron made."
I love it.
Motherfucker, look to your left. The Cauldron-born are right there. You already have a mythos about this that exists in the world. The Cauldron-born! Cauldron-born! How could you let that go, Wildbow?
They do have a mythos
Cauldron
about
made?
Cauldron-born?
Cauldron-born! Ah.
I like to think he did that.
For those of you who don't know, popular fiction, a more modern fictional retelling of this, the second book would be The Black Cauldron in a series that is primarily about the Cauldron-born, from Welsh fairy tales.
Huh.
Mm-hmm.
That does
Or if
seem
you're
like
an
a lot
Avatar
there.
fan.
Yeah. Literally. That is where that comes from. So I just can't believe that he would not read ACOTAR. And,
Well, that's not what I meant.
Right.
That's not what I meant.
But,
at all.
we have Glastig Wenye,
Oh,
but you're not going to have the pair in Yeben or whatever the name of the freaking. It's been 5 ever since I've looked up.
you're doing great, babe.
Freaking, yeah. I just, I couldn't. I know Cauldron-born because of Mech Warrior and the BattleTech universe, because there's an awesome 65-ton mech called the Cauldron-born. And I had to research that as a kid. And so I'm very familiar with the Cauldron-born myths. And he didn't do it. He didn't do it. It was right there. And it's upset me so much.
I mean, it's my least favorite Bourne movie as well, so I can understand that.
Yeah.
Okay, we hit the 2-hour mark. We're doing good.
Yeah.
That's it. We can move on to 19.7. I've been holding on into that for years now.
Glad you got it out.
Yes, glad we're here for you.
Alan holds a lot of things inside of himself.
He does.
Very well.
Please support us on Patreon so we can send Alan to therapy. We've said it once, we'll say it again. So,
Yeah.
The goal.
I mean, I've offered to get him into therapy. I have. He's turned me
couples
down.
counseling with Wildbow.
No.
Yeah.
No. Ooh,
So now
that's a fight we don't want to start.
Anyways, next section.
19.7.
Yeah. So 19.7, the last chapter before we have the final interludes. With the help of Scrub and the just arrived Labyrinth, a portal is open to Earth Aleph. Sundancer sets Noelle alight with her son, ending the fight. And the travelers, sans Trickster, because he's in the birdcage, go back home. Finally back through the portal. They decide they're not going to leave the portal open to Earth Aleph, so they just open it to another random world. And Telltale's like, yeah, no, can't close that. That's just open now. The Triumvirate face a bunch of angry heroes. And as the day comes to a close, Lisa opens up about her past back home as she talks with Taylor back at the base.
Okay, so we kind of skimmed over it, but Psycho Eidolon revealing everything about Cauldron is crazy, right? Because now, and he reveals it, of course, in the most blunt and least tactful way because he's Crazy Eidolon.
Yeah.
But you can see the effect it has, right? This idea of Galley and Weld, and there's another
Gully?
hero too who goes on Gully. Sorry, is it Gully or Galley?
Gully.
And Weld, and there's another hero who I think goes unnamed. They all kind of start talking and gathering together, and you can see the effect that the words have, right? There's that question you imagine, why am I this way, right? There's so many people with powers, and maybe I'm glad I have powers and maybe I don't, but why am I weird?
Yeah,
And
and
to
you don't
have the
remember.
answer, yeah, and you don't remember why. And to have the answer be, you were just a messed up experiment. We
You were
dumped you out.
stolen from your homeworld.
Yeah, potentially stolen from a homeworld. And then trying to make it better, Alexandria just later says, well, we don't get as many people like you anymore.
Yeah.
We're not experimenting as much anymore.
Yeah, I'm gonna call bullshit on that one too.
Oh, yeah.
The whole thing, I think everything she said, like all of it is so, it's so that mentality of like the ends justify the means. And, it's fine because, it led us to this point. It's like, yeah, but this point, what? Like, what do you mean that you at the for the, like just all of these poor people who've had their lives completely ripped apart, and you're not even like, you're barely acknowledging that. And instead, you're holding yourself up as like, well, I did what I had to do. Like, bitch, please. Like, you are not above the rest of us. Like, get fucked.
Yeah. But then, so I do want to say, though, I mean, I don't know. Noelle's ending, for whatever reason, didn't hit me that much. And I think...
Yeah, I agree.
I think that part of what I realized is that I didn't actually remember how she died. And it feels like her story is so full of emotion and trauma and pain and just this great depth of human despair and body image stuff that we've talked about before. And it's not that it's anticlimactic per se, but it kind of is. It feels like it goes by too quick, right?
I agree.
Like I wanted her to have a full-on conversation with Sundancer, like begging, pleading, like maybe her normal voice comes out one last time, right? Like whatever it is, maybe they see the real her again one last time, or what's left is like a little bit of her face. I don't know, just something more. And it felt, I guess maybe a little disappointing. And I think maybe, we've talked about how Wildbow tends to write really quickly, not just in the sense of he produces a lot, but in the sense of the pace of the story is so fast. And it felt like between all the revelations about Cauldron, the division between the heroes, and on top of that, the death of Echidna at the hand of Sundancer, it felt like so much happened so fast. And then they all go home too in that same chapter.
Yeah.
Which is the end of their story too. It just feels like it happens way too fast, and the payoff. For me, I like good emotional payoffs.
Yeah.
I like getting that like lump in my chest when you have that emotional moment. And you don't have to have that all the time, but it kind of felt like this was a moment that could have had it, maybe. Just my feelings.
Yeah. I also, I didn't obviously didn't remember because brain of a goldfish, but in my head as I'm reading it, I'm like trying to guess what they're going to do. And I thought that they were going to open it to a random world and then push her through the portal and then change the portal. So she's stuck on some other world that is uninhabited, like that she's just kind of stuck where she can do no harm to anybody. And in that same idea of that emotional end of like Sundancer with the big sun was going to be like her pushing the sun back. It's like, well, either you're going to get completely eaten by the sun or you're going to have to back up into the portal. Like those are your two options. And so as she's backing up, she's like, don't do this. And they could have that dialogue there and it would give us the space to have it. But it doesn't happen. She just does the sun and that's it. Like, and honestly, I kind of had this moment where it's like, after all of this fighting, it was so easy. Like that was so easy for Marissa to just like, well, sun, boom, done. And it's like, well, if that was the case, if the reason that Marissa hadn't done it until now was because one, she used to be friends with Noelle and there's like an emotional connection there. And two, her payment, as it were, for taking out Noelle is to be able to go home. Like, I don't know. It felt like, there's so many people died in the process of all of this.
She was ready to do it. And then Trickster fucked him up. We can't forget that part too.
That's true.
That is true. I
That's
did
true.
forget
I
about
forgot
that.
about Trickster being a fucking dickhead.
Yeah. I always forget that Sundancer actually is a really powerful ability. Because I have man, Sundancer, you really could have killed her way earlier. And I think the reason in my head that Sundancer gets so nerfed is because the first person she runs up against with her powers that we see is a pyrokinetic and steals her ability, her son away from her, immediately. So
also,
and she admits the whole time she's held back every fight because she doesn't want to hurt people.
Yeah, she's such a pacifist. She doesn't.
True.
Yeah,
that's true.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. Is that she also has the whole thing at the end of oh, she's empty. There's nobody still inside of her, and Taylor's like, "Yep, we're good. Go for it." Even though she knows that there's still three
That's where
capes in her.
she flies the
fly down Lisa's throat.
Tattletale's throat. I love it that Tattletale's the only one who's ooh, let me show you how much I know. I know there's a person in there. And literally everyone in the crowd is nope, no one in there.
Yeah.
Man, Sundancer's whole conversation at the end too, talking about how she's not her life's even though she's getting to go back, her life is never going to be the same, and she's probably going to be Sundancer on Earth Aleph as well, because Earth Aleph they're of portals, they're aware of everything going on Earth Bet, so they know who Sundancer is and all this kind of stuff, and it's just really sad. She's got such a sad little story. The only person she killed is her friend.
Yeah. Interesting though, only Ballistic goes through in costume of the remaining.
Because he's about to be a fucking hero over there.
Yeah, he's like, I'm ready for this hero scene, right? He's like, I need
get bitches, make money. I believe that's what he said his mission statement was.
I do really like Ballistic. So the idea of him actually being a top dog in Earth Aleph, I like that for him. I want that for him.
Yeah, because apparently the best heroes Earth Aleph has is the equivalent of 1960s Batman and Robin. So
yeah,
he is about.
Sometimes you just have to get rid of a bomb.
People.
Yeah.
No shade to 1960s Batman. Great movie,
we love 1960s.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, Lisa gives her big talk. Back up real quick. Attempted humor. She when Taylor's criticizing Clockblocker, this must be a coping mechanism. Attempted humor, Taylor. Clockblocker's a comedic genius. Okay. Maybe you should take some pointers from him. Say you're flicker that bitch next time. He just is brave enough to say the good stuff out loud.
It's true. Right? It's true.
God, he is what Alec wishes he could be.
Oh my gosh.
And we also don't want to skip over to Eidolon and Alexandria trying to make up for it, right? And also, okay, just as in terms of just utter badass scenes, right? Alexandria just standing there, metal melting down her body, right? Mostly nude. It's just whoa, that's a powerful
and let's not forget the cool eye thing too.
Yeah,
she's just got the one eye.
She's got and she Taylor says that as the metal melts and then cools, it sticks in her hair, and so she has these metal strands in her hair. That's pretty cool.
Yeah. However, she unfortunately is a bitch.
Yeah.
That it is unfortunate that she would hurt. Yeah.
A bitch.
And
what I think. Oh, go ahead.
Oh no, please.
I was just going to say what's so interesting though is again that contrast right between Alexandria and Eidolon. Alexandria is almost making deals look, I can step down from the PRT if that makes you feel better. I'll retire as Alexandria if that makes you all feel better. But just know that what we've built, what this world is, and our survival wouldn't be possible without Cauldron. So you might hate us, but you might also need to remember, need us. And even Taylor admits, she's like, yeah, she kind of has a point, everybody. But I do love the response of you don't get it.
You don't have to work with these people.
Yeah. And then
I like what she says though. She says well, that okay, this, talk to your teams. Don't make a hasty decision right now. you have time to think about it. Like, we don't have to make a choice today. And then she walks away.
yeah.
Like, because in the end, it's
doesn't
not up to
elaborate.
her, you know? It's up
But
to
then
them.
the moment that kills me is she's flying away and she says, Legend looks like he's in pain, and if I knew what to say to him, I would, but I can't.
Yeah.
That part, I'm like,
Yeesh.
because we know, like, Legend is the quote unquote good boy of the three that we've talked about.
Yeah.
And so him just standing there watching this all in pain, watching
hurts.
everything he's built up crumble,
Yeah.
all because of a lie that he didn't know about and couldn't do anything to stop.
And then
Yeah.
he
Someone
still, as we find out in the next chapter, still steps down because he's that good of a guy.
Yeah.
He's like, I'm still too involved, even though I had really no idea what was going on. I can't
Yeah.
in good conscience, keep my seat.
Speaking of like, I don't know, coping and dealing with this, something Tattletale mentioned, and we can kind of jettison off to her. Like, she talks about, like, how am I supposed to cope with things when stuff gets rough? Like, how am I supposed to go to a therapist when, like, my power basically is to just break down the therapist before they can analyze me? Like,
Yeah.
I was like, man, that does suck, because that's sort of, as a therapist, you're like, it's one of the reasons you're not friends with your therapists. You're just, they're your therapist, because there are certain things that your friends can do that your therapist can't, and a lot of things that your therapist can do that if they were your friends, they also cannot, because they're
Mhm.
supposed to be kind of person, and you're not really supposed to, get that involved with your therapist, and her ability just lets her unpack who they are as a person
Right.
and what they're thinking. So, like,
You can't really help it.
Yeah.
It's automatic.
so who is she supposed to go to?
Yeah.
For, to help her
For
process
talkies.
things.
If only there was a great superhero therapist. Just
Gosh.
anywhere in this world. Truly the hero we need.
Yeah. If only we could name one, and just one.
If only. But no, I mean, that is a good point,
Come
right?
on.
Yeah, we love her.
Gesundheit?
So her trigger event is interesting because it sounds like she can't even precisely know when exactly it happened.
She said she thought it was when she was sleeping.
Yeah, but it's just like there was so much emotional turmoil and weight
Yeah.
and it's interesting that it latched on to the idea of knowledge. Like
Mhm.
almost this thing of, if I'd known more, I could have saved my brother. So I'll give you the power to know more so you can help people, kind of.
Mm.
And that sucks.
Yeah.
Ooh.
That really does.
Ooh. I really like her trigger event. They're not, it's so unique and interesting, and how she got her power. Like, all the others, I feel like are pretty obvious, sort of, in a sense. And for hers, like we even said, like, she triggered in her sleep, Oh
Mhm.
man, it's really interesting.
Something she says about and the thing that kills me about that is what she says about her brothers, that like I still, even with my power, couldn't figure out what it was. Like, even afterwards, like, couldn't figure out why he had decided to end his life. Like, even though now that she had all these powers, she still couldn't figure it out. And that, like, she still doesn't know. And because he's gone, she'll never know. Like, this is one thing she will never be able to figure out. And that's so sad. Like, because of Tattletale already, like we've talked about with like dating and with a therapist, even, that like she's already in people's head unconsciously. It's like her human relationships are already messed up in a way that like she can't have the same type of relationship with people that like Taylor can have or other people can have. And then that made all the more hard with the fact that like her trigger was because her brother was gone, and she will never know why. Like, why he chose to to end his life.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Which, if you know anything about her, just drives her up a wall
I'm
to not
sure.
know things.
Yeah.
Ugh.
What's interesting though is the connection then she makes to Taylor and basically saying, I kind of was attracted to you, not in a romantic sense, but in a sense of being interested in you because you reminded me of my brother.
Mm.
And that revelation too, I think, is really significant for their relationship. Because it shows that Tattletale or Lisa and Taylor have gone from a place of mistrust and not knowing, and from Tattletale's perspective, more of that pity, to a genuine friendship. And yet there is still that gap between a deeper friendship that could exist maybe if Tattletale didn't have her powers.
Mm-hmm.
And there is some tragedy there to that, which is really, really, I don't know, it's very well written. That part of the chapter I was very happy with. I think personally, these should have been split into 2 chapters. Focus more on the Noel ending and then add in a bit more of
Have a
like what happens after.
decompression episode. Yeah.
Yeah.
But hey, it's still good.
Yeah.
It is.
And Tattletale saves the day. She saves the day like in some 4D chess.
Yeah.
She comes, she saves Brockton Bay in a sense of like, opening the portal
Yeah.
to send and they were, potentially going to shove Echidna through if they had to. But she's not only in one stroke does she set that up if they needed to, does she send the travelers home, something that they wanted. She also saves Brockton Bay economically.
Yep.
The most important way you can save a place.
And has and owns land already because of
owns
Coil. So
She
she's
bought
about
the
to
land.
make so much fucking money.
Which is like wild, like, oh man, we're having this big team meeting here, and it's like wild, like, oh my gosh, who said we should have the meeting here? That's crazy. Yeah, she owns the land that it's on. She's about to like make hella bucks off of that.
Yep.
It's and I love the explanation. Like, we now have access to more free, essentially more real estate, and
And
the USA
resources.
is not going to pass that up. So
Land and
Listen.
trees and rock and
Mhm.
potentially ore and who knows whatever else we could find.
and you all got to pay the troll toll, the tattletale toll to go through. Oh no!
I love that.
Yeah, she's definitely set herself up well. And it's the best example of like, at least from the hero's perspective, of do first and ask for forgiveness later. Because they're like, wait a second, you can't close this portal, can you? And she's like,
Nope.
I guess not. What? Who could have seen that
Whoopsies.
happening? And Alexandra's like, we're gonna have a war between worlds, and she's like, nah.
Yeah, if
Just
that
her
was
nonchalant-
were, that would have
Fine.
already happened. We've got enough superheroes to nuke them, and
To
they've got
fuck
enough
their
nukes to
shit
nuke
up.
us. Ugh,
Oh my gosh.
gosh.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
she's prepped. She had and I love that, like, in a weird way, I've started thinking of Tattletale as Coil in the sense of like all of the planning that goes into like how Coil was so many steps ahead of everybody. Like he just was. And part of that was like his power, like, but Tattletale is also, 100 steps ahead of people. And she's just, basing it off of a lot of guesswork. And it's just, I don't know. I love this idea that like, even though Tattletale has like kind of become the new Coil, like she still is very much in control and very much of like aware of all the moving pieces. And I so much enjoy her as like this the big bad behind Brockton Bay that like
She's a mastermind.
I love
She's
it.
a classic villain. She's coming to her own.
It's so good. I absolutely love it.
And then we finish up with Taylor sitting down, having a final breather, and oh boy, She's got the papers in her hand.
I want to talk about that.
The papers Dinah gave her, I assume.
Is that what we think it is? Because she never really says, does she? And then at the end, she crumples them up.
Says, yeah, because she's been blind this whole time, so she hasn't been able to read it. Only, what is it, Weld or Clockblocker, like, looked in her pocket at one point in time.
Yeah.
And was like, okay, and then just put it back because it, didn't mean anything to them.
I thought that the papers were something else.
No, it's 2 pieces of paper, and I assume that that's what she was looking at.
Are they going to reveal that, or are we just going to be held forever in suspense?
Maybe much like Lisa, we'll never know.
I don't like that. It upsets me.
Yeah. Can we skip to the last interlude? Because I want to save, if we can, the online section
for the end. So do Emma's interlude first?
Yeah, I'm fine with that.
Yeah. So the Emma interlude, we see the perspective of Emma. So how she met Sophia, which is unfortunate. When Emma stopped being Taylor's friend and learned to enjoy being a bitch. And Taylor proves to be the strongest of them all. Love that.
I kind of feel Emma at the beginning. But only at the beginning, where she's like, hey, no, hear me out. It's literally like the opening part where she's like, man, Taylor's my best friend. I really like her. But ever since her mother died, she's kind of a damp blanket. And she takes so much energy to deal with. And at the end of the day, I don't come away going, oh, this was what a time to hang out with my friend. I come away kind of feeling like the day got wasted. And I don't relate to that in a negative sense. And I don't think at the time she did, because before kind of she became a bitch. But I get it. There are some people you hang out with and they're exhausting and they're your friend, but you're just like, man, when did this become work more than it was enjoyable? And there's different reasons for that. Sometimes just people change. Sometimes you just, you're tired of it, whatever it was, or, you've changed. And so I definitely felt that section right at the beginning.
I think this might be maybe my favorite chapter, just in terms of writing quality that Wildbow's written. I think this is just a damn good chapter of storytelling. It gives context to both Emma and Taylor and Sophia a little bit. It's not justifying Emma's actions, but it explains them. And it ends this chapter capstones the whole story. We talked about at the very beginning of the arc, of arc 19, how Taylor, stuck inside Echidna, is seeing visions of her bullies. These are her traumas. These are what's made her. And then the resolution with Emma's interlude at the end, and the lingering thoughts that Sophia gives to Emma with how the strongest are those who survive, as she's watching Taylor survive. It's just poetic in beautiful ways. I absolutely love this chapter.
Yeah. We talk about a couple times before about most chapters are fun, but there's the ballistic chapter, which is kind of its own short story. It actually develops a chronologically, as opposed to just being sort of a scene. And this is one of those where you could put this into a short story thing on its own and be like, wow, this is incredibly interesting. And but in the larger universe, it also is a parallel to all the timeline that's happened and before what's happened and, leading up to after what we've read already. Like, it's really good.
Yeah, I was gonna say the same thing, that this feels almost like it could be its own short story. Because you don't need that much context to read into it. You find out everything that happened that you need to know for these characters. And I hate in a way, I hate stories that make me feel bad in any way for these characters like Emma. Not Sophia so much, but Emma. Like getting attacked, getting your hair cut, getting threatened with mutilation, and obviously like gang rape and other things. It's a lot, but it's interesting to see that this idea of her bullying was a coping mechanism or a survival mechanic, not a coping mechanism,
Mhm.
a function of survival, right? Like she's just trying to not be weak, trying to not be vulnerable ever again. And the irony is that, as we find out at the end, that, yeah, she's not as strong as Taylor is. And that because Taylor has survived, not that bullying is good, but because Taylor survived what she put her through, even she's a stronger person for it and happier and healthier.
I think that's interesting because thinking about, as
Really.
Sophia says, the idea of predator and prey, like Sophia has operated this entire time as though she's the hunter, and yet at the end, she's behind the glass, you know.
Mhm.
And I don't know. I think it's interesting. I don't know. I think that like in the end, after everything, Sophia isn't as strong. She isn't, and she feels like cracked and broken down by her own like bitterness, almost like her own, like the way that she sees the world is so like harsh that it's made her harsh. Like we know that because of the bullying, but more so even that's like Emma's kind of moved past it. Like she's also over it. She's realized that like, well, maybe I've outgrown Sophia and maybe Sophia isn't as strong as she thought she was. And then in the end she sees Taylor and it's like, well, maybe Taylor was the strongest the entire time. Like maybe Taylor was the one who came out on top in the end.
Well, that's kind of the irony of it all too, right? With her relationship with Sophia, she's saying, "I'm abandoning you as my friend because you're no longer the
Mhm.
predator in a
Yeah.
way." And it's ironic because that's the mindset she picked up from Sophia.
Yeah.
So it's just such a funny there is some irony in that relationship, right? And yeah, that's part of why it's so well written is that irony as well.
Yeah.
It's a good chapter.
Yeah. And
Mhm.
it ends with the Heberts are back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
and
was
it looks
happy
I
to
don't
see
know if it's
that.
true, but she bought him a new car, and I'm just gonna believe that.
Oh, 100%.
That's what it seems like.
I just want Danny and Taylor to I want their relationship to heal. And seeing this kind of gives me hope that like maybe it's on the mend. But I don't know.
Mhm.
And I just like I like seeing that Taylor is not the person she used to be, that she has come out stronger, that she has come into her own. She's as she said, and then as Emma notes, is like she's settled into herself, like into her body and like into herself. And the idea that like maybe now that she is more aware of who she is, that she can have a better relationship with Danny because of it. And like that's what I want for them so badly.
And I think there's a good contrast too there between Emma's dad, Alan, and
Mhm.
and Danny too, in that the one bit we get about from Alan towards Emma, and he's affirming. He says, "We love you, we care about you," but basically his response is like, "At some point, girl, you just got to take care. You just got to stop. Like, stop being sad that you got assaulted. Come on, like, get up, move on. It's fine." And I'm like, I just feel like that's so
Therapy.
telling of the relationship between Emma and her dad versus Emma or versus Taylor
Mhm.
And Danny. Yeah. Yeah. And she'd only been in her room a week, and they were all like, well, it's time to get up.
Mm-hmm.
There's a therapist number written on the paper outside.
If
Bye.
you think about killing yourself, call them first.
Yeah. Jesus. That was upsetting.
Yeah, we'll let the cleaning ladies know, I'm sure.
Yeah.
It's interesting that they were moving back to Brockton Bay, though.
Yeah.
Her
on the
family,
mend.
Emma's
Yeah,
family.
I mean, they were
They were like half
only
in, half
temporarily.
out. But
Yeah, they were only temporarily staying somewhere else because, like your dad said, like I hate moving.
yeah.
Which I get. That's the one thing with Alan I can relate on. Is the process of moving is painful.
It's not my favorite thing.
I love moving.
I like
Yeah,
rearranging.
I like moving too. It's the best.
I like new things. I don't like, you know what? I love moving. I don't like packing.
Yeah, nobody likes packing.
It's the sidebar, but it's the difference between you guys who have moved a lot in your life and
Yep.
and from the ages of 0 to 18, I moved once to another house in the same neighborhood.
Oh my gosh. That
My
must be
boy.
nice. Wow.
My sweet baby boy.
Mhm.
That's not unusual, but still.
I've heard people live like that somehow.
That must be nice.
Um.
Mm.
Oh well.
Last
with that
interlude?
being said,
Last one.
last one.
The last interlude is I thought it was a very cool format. It's done the Parahumans Online, which is the chat boards. Greg is a creep on Parahumans Online. We have some talk about what's going on. People are speculating, and then we kind of jump out away from the chat boards, and Greg thinks about things and realizes that Skitter is Taylor. He figures it out. And that's a weird, uncomfy place to end.
God damn it, Greg.
Just makes me uncomfy.
I just want to say,
I know her.
Taylor said way back when we first met Sparky and Greg,
Uh-huh.
I hope these characters come back.
Yeah, I
Yes,
know.
yes, he did.
Taylor's
If you ever listen
They're
to
back.
this,
You've
Greg
got
is
it.
back,
He's back,
baby.
baby.
You got your goddamn wish.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
This is a fun chapter.
Yeah, it's fun.
So this
to
is
read.
what I was talking about with the online thing of people being like, two things I'll have to correct you about. Number one, we don't give out warnings for anything like that. Number two,
If you want it.
yeah, it's just again, it's that perpetual need to be always correct, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I really like the
yes.
format of this. I had to read this chapter as opposed to listen to it because obviously the format is so
I had to do the same thing.
yeah, you can't really
Like
listen to it.
this is not working.
Yeah, no, I had to, and I, you get to the parts where I'm like skimming past certain bits because I'm like, okay, good, yeah, move on. Look at the username, look at their message. That's it. But I really liked that. Anytime we have like a fun little interlude that has like Dragon's Code or like the Parahumans Online, like I like that we can switch it up a little bit. And I imagine like if Worm was published like book wise, you have like a change in font, we have like all the cool spacing and stuff. And I love that. That's so funny. Like I know all the interludes, already kind of break up a little bit of the monotony of like the flow of the story a little bit, which I like. But then the format is really fun. And I really enjoyed at the beginning when Taylor was getting into the forums. I'm like checking out like what's going on, and I love that we have that again because I love that idea of like all us normies who don't have powers, who like aren't in the know of like what's going on. Like, well, let me get on Reddit real quick and like figure out what the fuck is happening in Brockton Bay. Like, I love that. All of us uncaped people trying to figure out what the fuck is going on. I love it.
Yeah. You can really tell that Wild Bow is familiar
Is a forum
with
fan.
is a forum fan. Because like, I don't know. I've read a lot of books that involve
They have, like,
people in
chat
chat
rooms and stuff.
and they feel so
Like this person has never been in a chat room in their life.
Yeah, somebody's never used AIM before. Like, yeah, it just feels really odd, and this felt, this is a chat room right here. This is a forum for sure. Like,
Mhm.
and some fun stuff about this. A random lurker on that chapter on his website, on Wildbow's website where he posted this originally. One of the chatters, random lurker, pointed out that, wow, must have taken you ages, especially since you did this straight into WordPress, which is
Oh.
something to think about if you've ever worked with WordPress,
God.
especially old WordPress.
WordPress sucks.
Like, he formatted that. Which WordPress works like ass.
Yeah.
So that's just impressive in its own right.
Yeah. Even
Like, that he was
website
able to get
developers
that.
hate WordPress.
Yeah.
Not a fan.
So, yeah. So that was very impressive that he, got that formatted. We talk about like the dragon chapters too. Like, you have to format all of that in WordPress, separate than how you would normally type things in. So, just thought that was really interesting. And on top of that, all of the we'll go over the rest of them later, but um, a lot of the names in here are workarounds of people that were regular commenters or chat roomers or forum people for Worm.
That's cool.
Yeah, that was
I
pretty
love
fun.
that little cameo moment.
I'll continue with Random Lurker's post. Uh, the Gnat being the ant, answer key being the user Anzerky, Bagrat being Packrat or Packbat, my bad. Senior Eel being Mr. Moray, Reeve being Reven, Space Zombie, who I know is down here somewhere. I can't find him now, but is Undead Spaceman. That's the real name of the username. And then Max Dual Rocket Propelled Grenades is his real name user is MC2RPG.
Nice.
You also have Mock Moniker, which is fake name is the name of that person. And then there's a character here named as I'm reading on the Worm blog, Truth Seeker, and he's guessing, oh, Coyote C is probably Loki L. Um, not too sure, but non-deceptive might be me, I guess. Maybe I'm being presumptive. And Wild Bow goes, I think I went with Judge for you. It's like, oh, cool.
That's very
kind of fun.
Yeah. Laser Smile is also a Razor Smile. And then right below that, Razor Smile comments, holy Krizap, I'm seriously flattered. Yeah. So there's a few interesting people that are regular commenters and stuff that all got put in there. So
That's
a
pretty fun.
fun
That's
thing.
really fun.
Let me see if there's anything. This is Undead Spaceman trying to figure them out. Mock Moniker. Yeah, you got all those. Yeah. So
there's also a couple.
I was gonna
I
get into
to that.
those.
Yeah.
If we want to get into those afterwards, we can go with the content of what we had in here, though. I love the Cape Wives forum because that's a thing that exists for everything. There's also like military moms and stuff.
Yeah, that was funny.
If you've ever, worried about their babies and, in basic training and, there's there's cop wives and stuff that have Facebook groups that talk about this. So it was very fun to see that for Cape Wives as well. Skitter getting a 5-star review.
Love
Woodville
that.
I
again.
did love that. I did
That
love
was
that.
fun.
I loved ranking your favorite places to live.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love that Taylor's
also
was
loved
the safest. Like,
Yeah.
well, you're gonna get good supplies, you're gonna get safety. It's just more of a moral thing than anything else. So like, well, you'll be in a villain's territory, but other than that, it's a great place to be, great place to work.
Yeah. I would recommend.
Would recommend. Oh, I saw Shar in there. Loved that. That was fun.
Yeah, we'll get to that in a second.
Oh,
We'll
sorry.
take guesses. No. It's good. You saw it, so we'll point it out and we'll talk about it in a second. Weldon the Irregulars. weld his.
Oh yeah, that was a big moment I wanted to talk about with this one.
And he's on the forum too because he's a big fucking nerd.
Yeah, he
Of
is.
course he is.
Yeah, he is. I can love him.
Well, when you only sleep like an hour a day,
Right. He spends
what
so
else
much
are you
time.
gonna do, right?
Yeah.
A lot of porn, man.
Sure.
He's fucking the tractor.
Let's go.
No,
Yeah, let's go.
I was.
Please.
God damn it! I was thinking it,
Oh,
and I didn't say it
Taylor,
on
rest in
purpose.
peace.
Fucking shit!
Let's go.
No! Don't use my own voice against me. God damn it! It gets me every time, Michael. It's too funny.
It's the best. It's the best.
The soundboard sounds are just amazing.
Yeah, we'll go ahead and wrap this up. But yeah, we'll hit the other hidden usernames and
Do it.
put a bow on this one.
So one that really bothered me, that I like, the one that I remember off the bat was like, I'm pretty sure. Does anybody have any guesses who White Fairy is?
Oh, I was thinking about that one. I did not come up with an answer though.
Okay, so this is one that bothered me when I first read it because I was like, well, she says that she was in the bunker during the Leviathan fight,
Mm-hmm.
and the only person that we know that was in the bunker during the Leviathan fight was Mr. Gladly.
No.
Well,
No.
not just Mr. Gladly, but Taylor got upset because there was a woman with Mr. Gladly, and she was like, how can
No,
she
I don't like
put
it.
up with his bitch
Is
ass?
that confirmed or are you just making guesses?
Ahem.
No.
From...
No.
I remember that Wildbow wrote something about. Here we go. From the Discord. Ahem. Wildbow. White Fairy and Mr. Gladly are actually based on people I know. It was a head trip because White Fairy was someone I'd know since I was young. And I was talking with her, and she asked me about my teacher, Mr. G. And I gave my honest opinion, which, as we all know, outside of that, is that he was probably a piece of shit. Because, Mr. Gladly.
Right.
Turned out she was dating him and was
God
considering breaking up with him.
Damn it.
Something like that. It was like 18 or so years ago. So,
So White
It's
Fairy
hard-
is Mr. Gladly's girlfriend.
yes. The head trip for me was having to recontextualize the guy in my head to be someone with an existence beyond school when he was just such a shallow human being and a poor teacher.
Nice.
Which
Damn.
honestly, every teacher needs to be recontextualized because, as far as I'm concerned, they're basically all vampires that don't exist outside of the school. Sorry, Nick.
No, that's valid. I'm currently inside of a school building myself.
You're just in your
It's like
coffin.
hiding in a closet. In a closet.
Yeah, I'm in the broom closet.
Yeah.
Other fun
Oh
ones.
my God.
Hannah, you had one that you picked up on.
Yeah, Charlotte.
Yeah.
She's just
That is correct.
her thing is Char. Like, as soon as I read it, I was like, well, yeah, of course. And then there's a little section where someone was like, hey, so if I wanted to like join up with bitches, their henchmen, like, how would I need to do that? And Char's like, I sent you a DM.
Yeah.
It's like, cool.
Yeah.
Like,
Maybe
okay,
let's
got it.
keep an eye out for Wag the dog in the future.
Heck yeah. I love that.
See what happened to her.
Or him.
Or him. It's strong girl energy.
I
Very
mean,
female coded.
I don't know.
Can always tell.
I totally read it as a dude, but okay.
Parahumans Online's cultural importance is that is often what determines your name. If you come up with a name that's too long, they'll shorten it for you online. And if they don't like your name, they'll just make one up for you. So picking a name and running it through the internet is very important. Also, perhaps Parahumans Online is a dragon project?
I think it's definitely, if it's not explicitly a dragon project, dragons assumed control of it.
Wildbow, I believe, says, oh, wow, who could possibly run all of that? Certainly not a predator, an AI with preternatural abilities to run all of that forum and also potentially be all the mods.
Yes. I love that.
So,
you make a good point.
yeah, not, Wildbow's words, not mine. But also the fact that all the mods might be just dragon.
I
Yeah,
love
that's
it.
funny.
It's all dragon.
Which, as we know on Reddit, is exactly how that works. They're all just one
All
dude.
dragon all the time.
The entirety of Reddit, all the mods are actually just one person with multiple accounts.
Yeah.
Let's go. Any guesses on G-String Girl? Because energy-wise, I knew who it was. But
I was guessing like still that kid energy, but like someone who kind of wants to feel grown up, but is still kind of a kid. I was guessing like Vista or something, but I didn't think it was Vista.
Okay.
But it was
so
like
there's a you're on the right track. There's a big hint though. She doesn't want to show pictures. And she doesn't want to explain why.
Yeah, I actually looked this up when I was reading it because I had an answer that was wrong, but I thought my answer was good when I was reading it.
What did you guess?
I guessed Glory Girl, which is not correct.
Ooh,
but
that's a really good
that's
one.
what made me think of it. I was like, oh, I just want to see. Yeah.
Yeah, I would say Glory Girl, not that desperate, but yes, that's a great answer.
Is it a different like monstrosity?
It is.
Is it fucking what's her name? The ribbony girl.
You're yeah, one of them. It's code named Garrett or Garrot, I guess.
Garrot.
AKA Sveta.
Is Sveta the one that Jessica Yamada was talking with?
Yeah,
she was like in the suit.
It was always snapping.
Yeah,
and,
okay,
having
cool.
to grab things.
Solid.
Yeah, and it's funny because G-string for Garrot, and also the fact that she is like,
clever.
That makes sense.
Stringy.
Yeah. Okay, solid. Hate the name, but yeah, okay.
Yeah, well, like I said, she's kind of trapped and maybe a lot of pent up energy there, and wants a lot of acceptance. So what do? You go online.
Yeah, we've all been there.
Yeah. Let's see, Joe. I think that's all of the fun ones I have. The rest are just forum people. So unless I missed one,
I'm sure people will let us know.
One big thing that happened in this, I did about 5 years ago. Somebody compiled a post. Husser, HUSR, compiled a post about Browbeat. It's a big PSA that Wildbow had recently retconned a bunch of stuff in Worm. Most importantly, because it leads up to Arc 19 kind of being, I want to say, like the last mention. And the big retcon was that Browbeat originally made it all the way to this fight. In fact, the quote from the original is, "I recognized Browbeat dragging Tecton behind him. He must have joined another team in another city, only to find himself accompanying them in a return trip to Brockton Bay." And he does multiple sources. Great job recording this, Husser. So this would have been 2018. And in the one that we just read, nothing there. Because, of course not, because he died all the way back during Arc 8. One of the announcements over the watch or the armband is Browbeat deceased BW-8. So yeah, and then we had Vista talk about, people that I knew who died, and she lists off in the interlude on the post. She talks about, Gallon, Aegis, Battery, Armsmaster, Dauntless, Philosophy, Glory Girl, Browbeat. One family member. So he retroactively was killed off. And somebody I spied here, not too far down, is a frequent commenter of ours, but Wolf Tamer 9 themselves. So, that Wolf Tamer 9 is a long time wormer. And we appreciate them commenting on our stuff.
Yes, always
Shout out
very
to Wolf
appreciative.
Tamer 9. But yeah, thought that was an interesting post relevant to this one that got redone. Also, some geniuses have put together, in case you hadn't looked for it, there is a worm quotes and wild bow quote repository on space battles. You look up worm quotes and WOG, Word of God, WOG repository on space battles. You can find basically wild bow writing, they have collected prompts like Aegis versus Clockblocker, and then have the interactions that wild bow has talked about with somebody, or why matter generating capes aren't used more often with construction/reconstruction, and then wild bow's answer to these. So if you want to just really dig into some wild questions, like why didn't Taylor's power have a second trigger, all of that is available on this. Somebody's collected all that.
Sweet.
So fun exploring. Have
Yeah.
at it.
Very nice.
And that is all of the fun facts I have for today.
Beautiful. Very
Ooh.
nice facts. Is this the end of our season?
I
think
believe this is
so.
the end of our
I
season.
think so.
Yes, it
So
is.
stick around for
Oh my gosh.
Oh,
dissecting.
man. Yes.
Dissecting worm.
Thank you
We'll
guys
put a
so
little
much
bow.
for finishing what is this? Our
Second season?
Third.
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 This
This is our
Oh
third
my
season.
gosh, is that
We're
right?
flying.
Yeah.
Holy macaroni and cheese.
3 of probably 5 seasons
Yeah, I think
and a movie.
Spaced out
Holy
there.
shit.
6
So-
seasons and a movie.
Thank you so much for sticking with us so far. Keep sticking with us. We got more to go.
We
A
do.
lot more to
yeah.
go. Good stuff
Next
to come.
week, we've got our Dissecting Worm finale. Make sure to, we have breaking down this arc, and then we'll do another episode where we
Season
kind of
finale.
do a
Yeah.
season finale, review what we've done so far with this entire. Which
And-
arcs do you guys know on the top of your head? What
It
arcs?
is 15 through 19.
15 through 19. What we've
Yeah.
done with those in our
And
dissecting.
Nick and I
podcast.
can tell you guys how dumb they are.
Yeah,
Wow.
boy. Can't wait.
Wow.
Yay.
All right.
Last thing,
Let's
Last thing.
go.
favorite superpower in
Oh,
5 seconds
yeah.
or left.
Oh my god.
For me, I got to pour one out for my boy Mirrodin. Sucks that he's dead.
Mirrodin. Yeah, I'm pretty
Aw.
upset about that. That's
I think we all
that's
know
how
I'm
you
going
got
to say Chevalier, so there it is. By
Just so
far
you
my
can say the
favorite.
name.
Oof.
And because his power is one of my favorites in the series. But yeah, also the
Fair
name.
enough.
Most
I'm
of
gonna
the
go
name.
Blasto for mine. Thank you so much. Love that.
Yeah, I also really like Chevalier. That was really, really solid, really cool anime moments.
Got some good
Yeah.
hits. Yeah. Well,
All right.
Oh,
uh,
I
wait,
think that's
wait,
it.
wait.
Oh, wait.
One more thing.
Wait.
I was reminded recently that we've been forgetting, we've been leaving out a specific thing in our episodes, and we have to do it. So for this arc, what the fuck, Taylor? What was our what the fuck, Taylor moment?
I mean, I had a what the fuck Bonesaw moment for sure.
Yeah, oh for sure, that
Um,
was crazy.
I think
I mean,
you
what
could do
the
a little subtle
Taylor?
what the fuck Taylor with the bug down Tattletale's throat.
Yeah.
I'll be honest.
fuck, Taylor?
Taylor was not the problem in a lot.
Yeah,
of
I think that's
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
why we've
I
been
feel like it was
skipping it.
Lisa. A lot of Taylor saying, "Lisa, what the fuck?"
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
shut the fuck up. Everybody telling Lisa to shut the fuck up.
I think the complete list of what the fucks in this section would be what the fuck Alexandria, what
Yeah.
the fuck Eidolon, what the fuck
Yeah.
Blasto, what the fuck Bonesaw, what the fuck Bonesaw, what the fuck Bonesaw,
Fuck
and
legend.
what the fuck Legend. And then finally, what the fuck Emma?
Yeah.
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 Nice.
What the fuck, Greg?
Oh, what? Yeah, what the fuck
Fuck, Greg. Love it.
No. Oh man. Good.
I'm old Greg.
Thanks for bringing that back, Anna.
Yeah, we got to keep
I,
that
We'll
one.
I,
get
I
to
had seen a
it next
comment about it.
time.
I was like, we
Yeah.
have to remember to keep
Yeah.
this
Yeah.
in the.
I
the
feel like
segment.
it's been overshadowed by
Yes.
many
yes,
other worse things
Yes.
than what she's been doing.
Yeah, the last time we had
Taylor's
a what
gotten
the
better
fuck
and
Taylor
better.
Yeah.
really would
The
have been the
world's
what the
gotten
fuck
worse.
Taylor. Why are you showing
Exactly.
up at this family's house with their daughter, their kidnapped daughter, and like in the dark, and being like, don't be afraid.
Yeah.
And them being like, oh God, and then kicking the door
great.
in.
That's good.
Like,
That
there's
would
a better way to do that. What the fuck, Taylor?
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah.
There you go.
Solid.
All right. On that note, we'll go ahead and call it there. Thanks so much for listening, everybody. It's been a blast as always. Stick around for future episodes to come, as Michael said. And we got 11 more arcs. We're coming up. We're closing out on this thing. Be a lot of fun.
Woo!
And
Oh my
until
gosh.
next time, Michael, want to play us out?
Thank you so much for listening. Read along with us at parahumans.wordpress.com. We'd love to hear your thoughts. What did you love? What did you hate? Anything you think we missed, etc., as long as it's kind. If you'd like to get in touch, you can find us on Twitter, Threads, Instagram, TikTok, and Reddit at Brocktonbaybc, or click the link in the description.